peace deal with the Taliban in Afghanistan.
The Defence Secretary meeting with allies at NATO's headquarters in Belgium. The head of the NATO alliance, Jens Stoltenberg, backing the Trump administration's peace talks with the Taliban.
But the Taliban need to demonstrate that they are both willing and capable to deliver a reduction of violence.
Stoltenberg speaking after Defence Secretary Esper confirmed the US and Taliban are working on what he called a reduction in violence proposal, short of a ceasefire, but a possible step towards ending the war in Afghanistan. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News.
Massachusetts becomes the latest state to sue e-cigarette giant Juul Labs, accusing the company of deliberately targeting young people through its marketing campaigns. Juul has said it's committed to combating underage e-cigarette use and has denied ever targeting teenagers. A mystery in space. NASA scientists trying to figure out a radio signal they're picking up.
Researchers at NASA would love to know what or who is sending out radio waves in a cyclical pattern. The findings of the scientists are being published this week. They say they've been observing bursts of radio signals, milliseconds in duration, but occurring nearly hourly for a 4-day period, followed by silence for about 12 days, only for the cycle to resume. It's estimated the signals originate 500 million light years away and are most likely not intentional broadcasts by sentient beings, but naturally occurring, emanating from a star and nearly interrupted by orbiting planets or other bodies. But the scientists observed the pattern for about a year. Eben Brown, Fox News.
An hour to the close on Wall Street, a rally to new records continues. Right now, the Dow's up 247, topping 29,500. And Lisa Brady, this is Fox News.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad. Woo! Go Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Woo! Give me a ham and jack slider.
Ham and jack slider.
Give me an Italian spice slider.
Italian spice slider.
What's that spell?
It doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Go Sliders!
Subway, make it what you want.
Live the balanced lifestyle. Take Care Insurance offers proven wellness and fitness programs to encourage individuals and families to live a healthy, balanced lifestyle through preventative care, being active, eating right, relaxing and unwinding, and being socially connected. They have the island's largest offering of free fitness classes and health education programs for all ages. Join the movement. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram or visit takecareasia.com to learn more.
Wow, nice smile. So perfect and all.
Thanks. I owe it all to Dr. Robert Yang and his smile team. They do wonders for a healthy, happy mouth.
Got teeth? Don't wait until they hurt. Schedule your routine checkup and cleaning with Dr. Yang and his smile team. Suite 119 in the East West Business Center, Upper Tumon. Call 647-8702 or 3.
The best thing that happened to teeth since toothpaste.
Dr. Yang and his smile team.
They make smiles happen.
Good morning, it's 6:06. I'm Mana Silva Tyron, and here are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. 2 men charged in a machete attack in Manila were sentenced in the Superior Court. 19-year-old Emmanuel Resalap wiped tears from his eyes as he received his 24-year sentence. His 25-year-old brother, Jordan Resalap, given a 12-year sentence. The two were convicted in connection to the June 2019 machete incident in Manila. Both brothers taking responsibility for their actions and apologizing to the victims and the Chukis and Micronesian communities. The men admitted to being drunk when they got into a fight, stabbed a cousin of theirs, and then went on to attack passing cars with a machete and throwing rocks. Assistant Attorney General Sean Brown told the court he wants Resalap to serve 46 years in prison and Resalap to serve 15 years. He says they went on a rampage, saying that he didn't think rehabilitation is even possible. Former Chief of Police and Senator and current University of Guam adjunct professor Judith Guthertz was one of the victims in the incident. She told the court she continues to live in fear and still gets flashbacks. She asked for the maximum sentence for both. She told the court whenever serious offenders get a mere slap on the hand, the victims of their actions get a slap in the face. Community distrust of our island's community's criminal justice system grows even more, she said. The brothers will appear back in court at a later date for a restitution hearing. Well, the government of Guam's contract with Canton Construction Corporation, the company providing maintenance service for the Agana and Northern Region Sports Complex Bowl, ends on May 8th, but the government has the option to renew for an additional year upon the availability of funds. DPR's director, Richard Ibanez, didn't say, though, if that renewal option is going to happen, only that the relationship with the contractor is under review. For more than a year, the local swimming community and residents who use the island's pools have expressed frustration at the poor condition and repeated closure of both pools. The government signed a contract in May of 2018 for $660,000 with Canton Construction to provide comprehensive facility operation and maintenance services for Parks and Rec pools, according to the government's invitation to bid. The services included the operation and maintenance of all pools, pool pumps, filters, and other mechanical equipment required to maintain safe water quality and operational standards. The Guam Daily Post, through a FOIA request, received a copy of the bid in which Canton Construction agreed it would comply with the scope of the services. The contract also required the vendor to complete a daily documented safety check and comply with all public health and EPA standards. The contractor also to be certified by the National Swimming Pool Foundation, but it was not certain if that requirement was even met. The FOIA request lacks certain documents, and follow-up questions have yet to be answered by Parks and Rec. In the meantime, the swimming community is still up in arms, saying that the entire contract with Canton is questionable. More news after this.
What does love mean to you? Is it passion, romance, or the feeling you get when making someone happy? Is it loyalty and commitment, or being completely vulnerable? Is love the feeling they sing about in songs or make movies about? Or is it just being with that one person who makes you feel safe? This Valentine's Day, celebrate the many ways to love with an exquisite 3-course dining experience perfectly crafted by Mezcla Bistro. From start to finish, you'll enjoy every bite and every moment with the person you love. Mezcla, a true taste of love.
Patrick Lujan will stay on board as the State Historic Preservation Officer, that from the governor's office, and even despite Linda Uggan going back to work yesterday. Uggan held that position prior to her termination, but was to be reinstated after the Civil Service Commission overturned her firing. The GHPO is a classified position created by local law, whereas the SHPO position was created by federal law and is appointed by the governor. A 2010 opinion from the Office of the AG discusses the matter, and according to that opinion, that same individual can act as both the GHPO and the SHPO, provided that this person was appointed to act as the SHPO by the governor. According to this, it would appear ideal with the two positions being filled by two different people, the opinion stated. Uggan was fired in June of 2019, accused of retaliating against and belittling staff and using her government vehicle without authorization. Uggan's office falls under the Department of Parks and Recreation, and the management could still appeal the matter with the courts. However, the judgment calls for Uggan to return to work immediately. The Office of the AG represented DPR in Uggan's termination appeal. It's not yet known how they will take action on this. 30-year-old auto mechanic Richard Gapison pleaded guilty to a charge of attempted possession of 50 grams or more of methamphetamine with the intent to distribute. Gapison arrested outside of the Barragata post office back in December after he picked up a package containing nearly 3 pounds of methamphetamine, which was mailed to him from California. He initially pleaded not guilty. However, during a hearing yesterday, he replied guilty when asked how he would plead to the crime. Under the federal guidelines, the defendant is facing 10 years to life in prison, as well as a fine not to exceed $10 million. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
I was looking at the National Weather Service site to find out just where the records are for cold in Februaries in the past, and where the record where the temperature is right now, because it's cold on Guam. You go inside to cool off, because I did that a couple of times last night, just wandering around outside, and went inside the house, and the house markedly warmer than even with the air conditioner on than it was outside. Partly cloudy and breezy, some isolated showers today. Expect winds from the northeast 20 to 25 miles an hour, gusting to around 35 miles an hour. So breezy and cool, highs near 86 degrees. So for tonight, partly cloudy skies and breezy with isolated light showers. There's northeast winds up to about 25 miles an hour. Expected overnight lows cool 74 degrees. Now, there's a high surf advisory in effect through Sunday night along east-facing reefs. High surf advisory in effect through Friday night along north-facing reefs. A high risk of rip currents through the weekend. Be careful if you're going on the water. Sunrise this morning about 6:45, and we will watch the sunset tonight. Usual spots with the usual faces about 6:25 or so. That's news and weather together here on The Point.
Yikes, are those Christmas bills coming in? Wait, hold on. That was last month. Now it's this month. But by popular demand, we're extending our New Year's solution 4.65% personal loan through February. Money for whatever you want at 4.65% APR from Bank Pacific. We're still celebrating.
Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal credit opportunity lender as low as 4.65%. Conditions apply.
If you own a Toyota, please listen to this. It could help you avoid injury, maybe save your life. The Takata airbags installed in certain Toyotas can explode and shoot out sharp metal fragments at people inside the vehicle. You don't need to be in a collision. They could explode any time. In the U.S., these airbags have caused 26 deaths. There's been a worldwide recall of Takata airbags, and most have had the faulty parts replaced. But here in Guam, there are still over 3,000 Toyotas on the road with potentially lethal airbags, and yours could be one of them. So please, take your Toyota to Atkins Grow, even if you didn't buy it from us, and get the inflator replaced. It costs you nothing, it takes just about an hour, and it could save a life, yours or someone you love. The AK song says we're here for life. That's never been more true.
At Atkins Grow, we're here for life.
It's the Ray Gibson Show, portions of which being brought to you by the guys over at APL. That's American President Lines, a global presence with a local home, and Denny's, where kids eat free every Monday through Thursday with every purchase of an adult entree. One child gets one free entree from the kids' menu. Drinks not included, available only for kids 10 years and below. Other terms and conditions apply. Find out what they are by taking your little one to Denny's, where they can eat for free.
The Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
I just gotta get. You ever get that feeling like you got to get to where it's perfect before you can get anything started. This is probably as close as I'm going to get. But the chair's got to be in the right place, and microphone's got to be in the right place, and my brain got to be in the right place before I launch into the Thursday version of the program. So, you doing okay over there?
So you got 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I might be able to sort things. I don't know.
Latter, yeah.
I get this.
Maybe by 8:30 when I'm out of here.
I got a weird itchy, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's the. Can I just get the confession time? Not. It's not like that kind of confession, but like yesterday, you might have noticed that I was friskier than normal. I mean, I'm not like physically friskier than normal. You know what it was?
What was it?
I finally figured it out. It's there. There's this new thing now, and have you noticed that the tags on your clothes are getting longer?
Yeah.
Yes, right?
Yes.
And if you look at the tag, it will have a little place where you're supposed to cut it with your scissors.
Oh.
And then you cut it with your scissors, and then you've got basically 2 knife edges in the shirt. And,
yes.
And that's where I was yesterday. So all day long, and now I think I got one of those like Guam sores because I was scratching so much. I think I scratched off most of the skin on my body, and now the whole thing is itchy.
Was that the lemon shirt?
It was no, it was the black shirt. I was wearing the black shirt.
I really like the lemon shirt.
I like the lemon shirt too. I like that. Wear that every day in commemoration of the government we've got here. Anyway, 6:17 in the morning. That's a real Joe Cruz. He gets the phone when you call it 888-8255 888-TALK is the phone number. I've got the video of the car from yesterday on Route 17. Has it been? I feel bad for the people that have to use Route 17. That has been an unpleasant place this year.
It's a great place to off-road too, though.
There's been what's that?
It's a great place to go off-roading.
Well, yeah.
If you have one of those kind of cars.
But even in the car, on the road, it's off-roading. With they got the potholes out there, and if the potholes don't get you, apparently the electricity will.
There's been a couple of bad accidents or things on that road that have shut it down. And
twice yesterday. Once in the morning. There was an accident yesterday morning, and I forget what the nature of that one was. I think Paul Tapau sent out a note on that. But then yesterday, there was another car that hit a power line or something like that and burst into flames. I got video of the thing. And typical of any video that I've been getting on my WhatsApp requires censorship. And I wasn't able to censor the audio on this, so I'll play it for you with a narration. We'll put a narrative over the theme, and maybe like a theme song that we can play underneath it. It's something is burning, and so maybe we'll see if we can find some juicy non-copyrighted instrumental music. The other voice that you hear belongs to baby sister Montecilva Tyrant, and I'm trying to be careful and not complain about things because she calls me on it. She outs me every time
he walks in here. It's cold in here.
It's cold. Stop complaining. And now it's warm, and I'm itching. And I want to be cognizant of what comes out of my mouth here, because I don't want you to go. I don't want you going home saying, it was originally really nice working with my brother, but God, he's a complainer. Just whine. It's like Mom always said, you're just the biggest whiner in the family. But as it turns out, that's good for talk radio. That's good for talk radio. Anyway, so Mana's going to take care of news and headlines and things like that from the guys over at the Guam Daily Post most of the morning. And yeah, it's cold outside. That's a comment that I've been getting. I went by the Tree Bar last night, and I had a jacket.
Windy.
Had a jacket in a car, and I was thinking I'll wear it. But I said, nah, it's going to be hot. I'll eventually get over there, and then I'll be hot and be uncomfortable, and then I'll worry the entire time that I'm going to forget my jacket. So I left it in the car. Mistake for two reasons. Because number one, it was cold and breezy over at Tree Bar, and number two, in order to get back to your car, you got to go through that hallway. Right from the lobby over to where Roy's is, you get that. It's like the refrigerated section at Payless. It's like going through there. The place is absolutely freezing. You're doing all right until you get to like the end, and you go, okay, gotta go. It's cold here. So so that's in my head. It's one of the things
where they freeze out the germs as they come in the door.
Must be no coronavirus because it's so bloody cold. But I got I was looking up trying to find out what the temperature swings have been in February, because somebody asked me last night, so why is it like this? I said, because it's February. It's cold it's cooler this time of year. A lot of dry air coming in, and all the breezes and everything, and making it just Tumon looks gorgeous because it feels like the wind is pushing so much extra water into the bay, and it's just nice out there. Anyway, so I Googled up Guam temperatures 2019. And, you ever notice that some days Google gives you exactly the answer you want, and then some days Google is useless? Today, Google is useless. I am not getting the information I want. It gives you now when it knows that it's useless, it gives you another thing that you can click on, like people also ask, or people are also searching for. People also ask, does it ever get cold in Guam? First of all, it's on Guam. This is not inside, it's on. Guam's climate, it is never cold or even close to it. Although people who have lived here a while complain they are freezing on those rare days when the temperature drops down into the 70s. The only way to get cold on Guam, figure it out, is it on Guam or in Guam, is to go into places with air conditioning. That's the story from Google. The thing is, we've all become acclimatized to this, and if the days aren't 90, and if it gets any cooler than about 73, 74, this becomes something remarkable. I mean, you see the guys walking down the street with the hoodies now, but it's funny because they're wearing hoodies and shorts. 6:21 in the morning.
And cold to me is 76 degrees.
Yeah.
But cold to you is like negative 40.
Well, this is a complaint. All right, so a little bit more history here. The building is cold. I like the building cold. I like it to be 65 degrees because if it's anything warmer than that, cooler than that, then what happens is the thermostat says, okay, it's cold, and it turns the fans off. And I don't like still air. I like the air moving. And I can't put a fan in here because this is, there's microphones here. I want to hear fan noise. noise on the radio, so I set the thing majigger at 64.
Yes.
On most days. So
I'm always freezing cold.
The real Joe Cruz always freezing cold too. Anyway, 6:22 in the morning. Enough about
But
us.
he likes it.
Enough about us. Let's hear about you. Click.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your
Oh, man, I've lost a lot of names, but I kept the top 10. I got the top 10 right in front of me. Rico B, that's Rico Blancaflor. Carl LGB, that's Leon Guerrero Blas. And Marla Carbazidu. You gotta put the Z in there. Carbazidu. Alex F. Fligui is online. There's JB St. Nicholas, Heather Perez, Yoichi Rangel, and Yoichi's trash passion. The passion of the pickup is continues here. They were not able to get Yoichi's trash yesterday.
No.
And this is after all of us saying just how great and efficient and wonderful they are over at the Guam Solid Waste Authority, and trying not to say, and so it begins. And now here it is. No more receiver there. No more U.S. attorneys banging on Francis Tydenko Gatewood to make sure Guam gets it right and everybody pays for it. And now those guys are gone. And Yoichi hasn't had his trash picked up yet. Now, he did. I think he did make contact and actually speak with the human being over at GSWA. That would be Bree. And Bree has assured him that at some point today, somebody's going to roll out and send somebody. They'll dispatch somebody over to his place to get his trash.
Bree is who I always speak to also. She's very pleasant.
Yes.
And I'm sure that she's going to be yelling at people because Yoishi's trash has not been picked up yet.
6:24. It's 24 hours later that we should have had the trash picked up over at Yoichi's place. Anyway, so Yoichi's online. Vince Borja, that's soon-to-be Senator Vince Borja, online this morning as well. I got James Howard and Gary Shawnols, and a strange and bizarre morning now, and maybe it has something to do with the temperatures at Ismail's place, because he is not among the top 10 this morning. Significant alien technology. And you might have heard in the Fox News about these radio waves that they're hearing. They were originally not paying any attention to them because they were kind of chopped up, but they looked over the record and are able to detect a pattern in the chopped upness of these signals, and they're going to figure out eventually the source of these signals. And is it possible that they come from sentient, intelligent life?
That's from SETI, huh? The
No,
search for extraterrestrial.
not SETI. I think what they're going to find is that there's something over at Ismail's place that is out of whack, and that's where the signal is going to be coming from. 888-825-5888-TALK. We got Auntie Bennett Lohan Duenas is online. Bus Stop Betty, that's Pam Duvall, is hanging out, and she's already got the Valentine signs up. Gwen Taimanglu is online. Hold on a second. Did something freeze? Am I frozen? Oh, I'm having a Klitsky moment here. All right, I'll get back to that once the screen starts moving again. Anyway, and jumping around, 6:25 in the morning, 888-825-5888-TALK. What's on the table of contents this morning? Well, it kind of depends. There's actually quite a lot out there that we can talk about. Among them, and the top story in one of the top stories from Mana's newscast is we got justice, baby. We got justice. There might be among some of you out there that say, whoa, that's kind of harsh sentences, 24 years for one of these guys. And I'm going, we need to make signs. There needs to be billboards up in town. The Machete boys have been sentenced now, and one of them, Resalab, that's the Emmanuel Resalab, 19, has been sentenced to serve 24 years in prison. Yep. And then you've got his brother, Ratchalub, Jordan Ratchalub, who's got 12 years of his life that is going to be taken away. And like I said, there's going to be people out there going, ay, a day, ay, ihu. That's a long time to be in prison. That's a long time to get stuck in the Department of Corrections or anywhere. But the thing is we've managed to get used to so much crap around here from all kinds of people. We had random crime, and that was I want to say the high point, the high watermark. But every time I think, okay, it'll never get any worse than that, all of a sudden we hear stories about people getting chased, little fourth graders in Sinahanya getting chased. We got people throwing knives into cars, and you go, well, I guess not. This needs to be we need to make this a big example for everybody else around here. that figures that they're going to get away with it. Maybe not everybody is going to get a 24-year sentence, but do you want to roll that kind of dice out there? And there's some interesting statements coming out of former chief of the police department, Judy Guthridge, who was victimized in that particular incident, terrorized, I think is the word that she's using as a result of that particular incident. And then you've got the guys who have been sentenced, and they're crying tears. I'm sure those were sincere tears, because 24 years is a long time. That's a long sentence, and 12 years is a long sentence for people in that age group. And I'm not going to be apologetic about it. We need to make this a signal to the rest of the people in the community that there are judges out there that will impose harsh sentences, and maybe we'll start to see a wind down in the crazy crimes that we've got, fueled by alcohol, fueled by drugs, fueled by rage, fueled by issues that people have with their mental health. And I've got the magistrate reports. I'll be happy to read some of this stuff to you, because this is just one of those isolated cases. There's still plenty of crazy floating around in this town. So I think that's going to be interesting. The other interesting story, Mindy Uggan, who's the editor and boss of over at the Guam Daily Post. So if Mindy's going to write a story, she's going to get top of the fold, right? So her story is on the pool maintenance contract, $660,000. The people of Guam have gotten ripped off to the tune of better than $500,000 for pool maintenance, considering the unusable facilities that we've got now at the Agana swimming pool and the Dededo swimming pool. And no, I'm not exaggerating. I am actually leaving out the word, the L in the word, because I want it to be associated with poo, because what do they call it?
There is fecal coliform
There's fecal
in the
coliform
pool.
in the pool. They are the Agana swimming pool and the Dededo swimming pool, almost literally.
And if you don't know what fecal coliform is, it's the bacteria that's contained in your
poo. Yeah, so that's why it is correct to call it that. $660,000. Now I did a little bit of the math here, and that is $27,000 a month per pool, per pool facility. I think. Yeah. Hold on a second. It's one of those things that I actually wrote down on a paper that I'm not looking at.
And mind you, this contract was not signed by
Ibanez?
Richard Ibanez. This went into effect in 2018.
So we've been getting ripped off for all that time.
Yes. So this is a 2018. So this is the previous administration.
$27,000 a month per pool. $27,000 a month per pool. Now, these are, granted, they're large pools. They're big facilities, right? But $27,000? You would think for that kind of money that these guys were netting, if they were netting that money. I'm not going to be here to tell you that these guys are the vendors, the vendors on Guam that are getting paid. Right. So it's possible. I'm always generous with the benefit of the doubt, but it is possible that they were not getting $27,500 a month for their contract.
And if the bid required that they be part of this National Pool Organization Certification Board, it should have been included in their bid submission, some sort of credential or certification.
We don't know if that exists there.
And because their FOIA request was not completed, or their submission was not complete, it isn't known if they're even part of that certification board.
What are the chances? What are the odds? If they've screwed up everything else, what are the chances that they've got somebody?
Then their submission should not have been accepted because that was incomplete. It would not have. They should have had proof that they've met that requirement. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what kind of brain power we had running the Department of Parks and Recreation
At the time it was,
before Richard Ibanez got there. So I'm not going to hold out any kind of hope that it is a lousy contract accepted maybe in a rush or some kind of hurry. Nobody bothered to read the whole thing because
it would have been Barcono at GSA, because GSA is in charge of
so who's pushing the thing forward? My point is that we've had problems with the Department of Parks and Recreation for a long time, dealing with the swimming pool, dealing with the other facilities that they've got, and I've always questioned the management and the brain power of the management over at the Department of Parks and Recreation. So it wouldn't surprise me if somebody just had something put in front of them and looked at it and said, "Oh, okay, looks okay to me. $27,500 a month per pool. It's not my money; it's taxpayer money. So I think we're going to be okay." Okay. Anyway, 6:32 in the morning. We'll riff on that and get some more of your thoughts at 888-8255-888-TALK. You can also reach me again on the WhatsApp 988-5874. That's all ahead as the Ray Gibson Show continues. But right now, it is time for Montecillo Tyron to deliver some headlines from the Guam Daily Post.
2 men charged in the machete attack in Manila last year were sentenced in the Superior Court. 19-year-old Emmanuel Resalap wiped tears from his eyes as he received his 24-year sentence. His brother, 25-year-old Jordan Resalap, given 12 years. Both brothers taking responsibility for their action and apologizing to the victims and to the Chukis and Micronesian communities. The AG is close to completing a criminal investigation into a police officer seen in a video punching an arrestee in the stomach. Guam police have identified the officer as Joey Uggan. The incident also led to an internal affairs investigation at GPD and a civil rights investigation with the FBI. Police Chief Steve Ignacio issued a press release yesterday stating he stands firm that our officers must remain above reproach in the performance of their duties. And 285 war claim checks will be issued today and tomorrow for those adjudicated war claims. They will be the last of the checks to be issued from the War Claims Processing Center. That office set to close tomorrow at 4 o'clock, after which war claims processing will take place at ADLUP. The governor's office said more checks will be issued in the coming weeks as the Treasury Department continues to verify claims submitted through the local program. And those are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, pick up a copy of the paper or log on to the website at postguam.com.
Gotcha. 6:33 in the morning. That's iConnect time. Hey, take somebody that you like over to iConnect. Maybe you blew the reservations. Maybe you didn't get that hotel room and the flowers and the chocolate. But you know what? Everybody likes technology, and that goes for the ladies. And there's lots of ladies that will help you over at the iConnect location at the Micronesia Mall. Your favorite Apple accessories, your favorite phone accessories, need new headphones. How about the new iPod Air Pros that they've got waiting for you? For details, get in the car and get to the Micronesia Mall and visit iConnect.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
Okay, I'm looking at it. I'm sorry. I was reading a news story. Newly renovated Agania pool shut down again for, quote, maintenance. And this is a story that goes back to December 1st, 2017. It's the Raymond Gibson Show being brought to you by the guys over at Wendy's. They're bringing back a classic sandwich. It is the Big Bacon Classic. You can't find it anywhere else. Juicy beef patty. They put some melty cheese on top of that. Crown it with bacon, but not any ordinary bacon. Not the cheap, thin stuff that some people will pass as bacon. This stuff is thick as a $50, right? Don't test me on that. I'm just saying, to me, when I bite into it, it feels like it's thick, like I'm biting into a $50 coin. But it's Applewood smoked bacon, best kind you can get. They got lettuce, tomatoes, onions, pickles, mayo, ketchup, all in the warmly toasted fresh bun. I know it's early to start thinking about lunch, but hey, when it is time, think of Wendy's.
Hafa Day. This is Alicia Blas from Security Title with a gentle reminder that your first installment of property taxes is due February 20. You might not know, but if you purchase property after March 4, 2019, you most likely will not receive a tax bill in the mail, but you still owe the tax. To make payment, take a copy of your deed to Revenue Tax in Barragata and ask for the tax bill. When it comes to your family land, call the professionals at Security Title. We are here to help.
Time to take a look at the traffic gizmo and see what we got out there on Guam's roadways. It's fairly early, so I'm not expecting a whole lot that's going to slow you down and make you crazy. Although, okay, all right, I had to double check because I was playing around with the traffic gizmo, and the one that I have, the version that I have, I can look at traffic pretty much anywhere in the world. And what I was looking at was I wanted to find out what the traffic was like at the Shakey's in Shinjuku in Tokyo. Traffic at the time was light. 6:36 in the morning. Traffic on Guam running fairly light right now. Might see a little bit of southbound traffic just trickling in around the schools up in Jigo, but it should be clear going all the way until you get to the intersection of 1 and 3. Not meeting up with a lot of traffic on 3 right now. And remind me, I got a thing from the DPW on some changes in the lane coverage that you've got. I'll read that to you in a couple of minutes. Also, a little bit of traffic over in front of the Guam International Airport. 8, 10, and 16 running clear. 4 is clear all the way into the downtown Agutnia area. Marine Corps Drive clear all the way to Big Navy in Sumai. 6:37, that's right now traffic on the point.
Hafaday, this is Congressman Michael St. Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael St. Nicholas.
Howdy, folks. I'm back with my KFC Sriracha Extra Tasty Crispy Chicken. Yep, we kicked up our peak of chicken a notch with Sriracha.
Woo! Sriracha!
It's spicy, tangy, and sweet. You've never had Sriracha like this before, so spice up your next meal with KFC's new Sriracha Crispy Chicken. Also available in boneless crispy strips. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Bringing you closer to the action. Any speaker, anytime. Watch and listen live on thepoint.gu.
So you got to get your frowny face in today. And I'm telling you, tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to be Friday. We don't do frowny faces on Fridays, and even more so because tomorrow's Valentine's. Valentine's is tomorrow, and I don't know if you heard this yesterday, but we were talking with, and we might talk to her for sure again today. Valerie Bloss from over at the Grand Plaza. Anyway, so Valerie has got a deal. Do I think I got a which messaging service did she use to tell me about it? There is a deal there for Valentine's. They're calling it the Ray of Love.
Oh,
because
Ray
it's based
for you?
because it's based on this program, right? The conversation came up over here. So it's the I'll find. You ever notice I make that noise when I'm trying to kill time on the radio? There. Okay, got it. It's the Ray of Love special. You have to actually say Ray of Love when you call for reservations. You stay this weekend, you check in tomorrow and check out on Sunday. Those are the nights that are available. If you only stay one night, it's $129 with tax, with breakfast for two at Mescla.
Wow.
Right?
Nice.
Right? So, I mean, that's a great value. So if you stay more than one night, it's two nights will be $99 plus tax, and you still get breakfast for two over at Mescla. So it pays to stay more over at the Grand Plaza.
Deal.
So if you want, you call them up, 647-0630. And ask for a room, but you've got to mention Ray of Love special, otherwise they're going to charge you the regular rate. So you want the deal? Say Ray of Love when you call 647-0630. Includes breakfast at Mescla. So
if you've had the breakfast at Mescla, man, it's to die for. It's really,
guys from around here cooking breakfast. How bad can it be? 20 away from 7 o'clock in the morning. 888-825-5888-TALK. I want to bring in Cousin Troy because he's on. Cousin Troy's up. He's up and he's running
Is
around.
that our favoriteest, most beautifulest cousin in the whole wide world? You have to start saying that.
I'm my favorite and most beautiful cousin in the whole wide world.
I can't remember all of those words at the same time. I'm sorry. It's how you doing there, Cousin Troy?
I'm all right. I'm making my coffee right now.
I was, because you do your stuff on the line so late at night, I miss it. But you were making pot roast last night?
Yeah, and I almost burned down the house.
Oh, no.
That's how you know we're related.
Yes.
if you ever wondered to say how do I know that you guys are related? He always calls you Cousin Troy. How do I know that's for real? Because at some point we're both pyromaniacs, and at some point we've had that old blank moment where you realize the fire might get out of control. So, so one of these days I'll tell you the story about how me and your Uncle Johnny burned down a house in Tamuning.
I want to hear that story.
I might tell it now. We were looking for someplace. We were looking for someplace to smoke comic books because we were just little kids. We didn't know any better, and we didn't know that people actually
He
smoke.
still doesn't know any better.
Cigarettes, and so Uncle Johnny would take a comic book paper and he'd roll it up so it looked like a cigarette, and we'd light it. Naturally, you smoke when you're smoking basically a piece of paper. It started to flame up and it freaked us out, and so we dropped the comic book that was burning on the floor of this old tin shack this morning, and before we knew it, it was up in flames. And so I'm confident in talking about this now because I figure that the statute of limitations has probably exceeded right now by about 40 years or something like. So I'm just saying.
Where were your parents?
Everybody had there was in that time in the late 60s and early 70s where people there were moms and dads were working. I don't know.
Yeah, right up into the 80s when we were running around again. Yeah.
I don't know where Uncle Enos was. Anyway, so there's Cousin Troy. You've been following this interesting. I don't want to call it a kind of a land scam case, but it looks like there's opportunities for harmonies of interest, if you will, between a real estate agent and somebody working over at the Department of was it DPW? Okay, so what?
It's more of a racket.
Oh, a racket. Okay. Do me a favor. I got a little. I can hear too much of the room. If you're on a Bluetooth or something like that, can you just pick up the phone? Or
Sorry.
take me off headset. Much better. Much better. Okay. So what's the deal here?
So, sometime last, maybe like 3 months ago, I got our first tip from, I don't know who it was. Actually, it was really truly on this call.
Mm-hmm.
And this person was like, hey, there's this real estate agent named Janine Guevara, and she sells real estate for this developer, and it's just according to this person, it was a recent thing, like over the last 2 to 3 years, and it's her husband who is the guy who approves the permits over at DPW, who's been signing off on all of these permits, and it's been fast tracked. And so I was like, okay, that's something, but we got busy with everything.
Well, Saipan, yeah,
and then a couple more tips came in, and the story was just a little different, and the tips started becoming that it was going on for years, that he was a permits administrator, that they would threaten the Joe Guevara, the husband, would threaten these developers that if they didn't assign the listing of their properties to his wife, that he wouldn't approve their stuff. So okay, this is our kind of story, So
yeah, definitely.
We did a FOIA. And Vince Ariola came back and with that one letter that I sent to you.
Yeah.
And he's saying a whole lot more than directors normally say in responses to FOIA. And he actually told us that after he opened an investigation, and after he opened that investigation, Joe Guevara resigned his position as the permits administrator. And then we did that first story about them. A whole bunch of real estate agents had to call about just with all these horror stories about what the Guevaras have been up to, and that it's been more than just the Guevaras, because they had to get people, or developers had to get signatures over the Department of Land Management as well, and so we're tracking that down as well.
Wow. Well, that's something else. Yeah. So here's the guy with the power of the pen, and basically forcing people, if you want this development to move forward, then you got to make my wife do all the sales.
Yeah, and interestingly, if you look, the wife works, or I don't know if it works for or is associated with Landmark Realty. But if you look at their website, you just be surprised at how much they advertise this stuff. They're a brokerage firm that markets directly to developers, not to home buyers or anything like that, but to developers. And they just plainly say, we'll get you through the DPW approval and permit process. We have the experience and the unique expertise. Yeah. I was like, wow, they advertise their political connections. It's crazy.
Okay, so as usual, Candace got the story. Is anybody else jumping in on this? I mean, is it, as you said, it sounds like Vince has already got some information and enough to have started an investigation over at the Department of Public Works. Has anybody picked up the phone and called Levin Camacho and say, hey, we've got what appears to be a clear case of abuse and corruption?
Well, I asked whether this thing has been forwarded to the Attorney General and to the public auditor or the Guam Police Department, and I'm waiting for that response. So we've received 2 responses from DPW already.
Yeah.
And each time we get something, we have some follow-up questions.
Of course.
and no, but they've been pretty good and timely about answering us, and I think they've been.
Well, you know, Vince is from a family of lawyers. He knows better than to mess around with the LAW. So let me ask this question here, because you know when I hear about things like this, my mind and my memory goes back to something that was big in the Camacho administration, and that was the whole drama, the debacle over Zero Down and those properties there. In fact, that was Mona Silva's one of Mona's first stories when she was working over at PNC was the saga of these people that were basically, here's the land and you can develop the property, and don't worry, we've got infrastructure coming in, because that was based on a handshake and a signature over at DPW. Has anybody taken a look at the building permits and the permits that have been processed already to ensure that they comply with the codes? Is it possible that this guy was also, authorizing and signing off on what could end up to be our next set of slums?
It's very possible. I mean, what this is reminding me of is the problems that were facing Chamorro Land Trust Commission. If you remember, sometime late last year, I think it was PDN, they did this expose about the permitting process over at DPW, and it sort of led to Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio being in charge of this make our 10 stops a true one-stop center.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they came back with some findings that they just thought that the people who were issuing the permits or doing the inspections just didn't have a good understanding of what they were supposed to do. But I think they have a pretty good understanding of what they're doing.
Wait a second, my signature is worth money all of a sudden. Let me take this out for a ride and see how far I can get.
Yeah, and I think the same sort of thing was happening over at Chamorro Land Trust Commission with the racket between the employees there and the surveyors. That was years ago. The Zero Down thing, that's such a sad thing because of the number of victims and how, just how they were affected by it. That was really sad.
Well, the misunderstandings and people that abuse their positions of authority. So this is what you're talking about is not necessarily new to Guam. We have seen it and done it 100 times. I think maybe a harder look. Maybe we ought to start requiring 2 signatures. One from the guy that's actually got the job, and that's got to be backed up by somebody else, like the director of the Department of Public Works, to make sure that somebody is actually overseeing the process.
Well, they should just get someone with a conscience to start signing things.
That's what I don't think that's in the job descriptions for a lot of these positions. And people they just get in there for so long, and all of a sudden they think they own the place, and it ain't their money; it's the taxpayers' money, and we're the ones that are going to for just mark my words. When this is all said and done, we're going to find out that there are going to be some shoddy contractors out there, shoddy products, and it's going to be the people of Guam that are going to be left holding the bag as usual.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder about the price of real estate and whether this sort of scam or racket has had anything to do with the price of real estate.
With the increase? Well, it could be. Talk to some of the real estate experts. I mean, the next thing is you take a look at the story that Mindy's got in the Daily Post here, and a $660,000 contract that was let out to a company primarily responsible for all of the operations of our swimming facilities here on Guam. I don't know if they were still getting paid, but $660,000 worth of work that clearly has not been delivered. And watch nothing happen on that one as well.
Oh, there's actually a story that we're going to be starting about a similar thing that happened with Guam Power Authority and members of the former administration who had that contract just a couple years ago.
Ooh, sexy. Yeah. All right.
Oh,
we'll keep an eye out.
Janine Guevara, we found out, is running for senator, just FYI.
Crowded field, isn't it? What about you? Did you pick up your packet yet, bro?
No.
He says it makes you sound like you're about to vomit. No, if I got to go work with people like that, I don't want to work in that job. It'll be fun watching the defense of the actions here. Now that the cats are out of the bag at Candid. 6:51. I'll talk to you pretty soon, cuz.
Thanks, Cousin.
All right, man. It's 888-8255-888-TALK. Like I said, no frowny faces tomorrow because it's Friday and it's Valentine's, so get out of your system today. The other Governor Leon Guerrero, that would be Ken Leon Guerrero, is online now. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning.
I was
I was originally going to talk about the GMH and healthcare based on Vince Akimoto's letter.
Well, the problem is that Vince Akimoto's letter, he kind of telegraphed that a couple of days ago, and when I played the video, the soundbite that he sent me, the video of these people in Wuhan, basically prisoners in their own homes, prisoners in their own buildings, shouting to each other from balcony to balcony, Jai Ha, Jai Ha, keep it going, stay in the fight.
Yep, but then Troy diverted my attention when he was talking about that land scam deal. And in the news yesterday, there was a big headline on Pacific News Center that the Attorney General disagrees with the Civil Service Commission over restoring Linda Uggan back at Parks and Rec, which was something I was talking about months ago when it first happened. I said, this is how it's going to end.
Well, but obviously they had to. That my watch is making a noise. But obviously they had to wait until the Civil Service Commission did something so that they could take an appropriate steps. I'm not surprised that Levin waited as long as he did. There wasn't anything to complain about until the CSC said, okay, you must reinstate.
Well, I'm just waiting for Levin to go after all the directors and deputy directors and administrative service officers that use government vehicles for their personal use. I mean, after all, she was terminated for using a government vehicle to deliver a complaint to her supervisor.
I recall that.
I'm thinking of all these government vehicles you see parked in front of House of Chin Fi and the Flamingo and all these other places, all the police cars we see parked at the exchange, that's obviously personal use. And if we're going to fire one person for using a car to deliver a complaint, then obviously going to lunch and going shopping with a government vehicle is even more heinous.
Well, here's what we ought to do here, because this is a visual medium that we're on now. It used to be just radio and audio, but now that we're on Facebook and YouTube Live and the point.gu, maybe ought to do this and just send everybody out. Here's your assignment for the next couple of days. Mona, remember I put out this assignment, okay? Here's your assignment for the next couple of days. Next time you're at Ross or GPO or Kmart or at the Exchange or something like that, and you see a government of Guam yellow plate vehicle that says, not for personal use or something like that, or you see a squad car from the police department or fire department or something like that, snap a picture and send it in to the WhatsApp 988-5874. It's possible you've already got them. It's possible that somebody on their phone right now has got one waiting for somebody to say, where do I turn this in? How do we grab the neck of the guy that was driving this car? So if you've got yellow plates on your phone in places where you don't think they ought to be, 988-5874 is the WhatsApp number. So give that a shot. I want to hear my phone start blowing up here. So what else did you want to yak about?
Boy, that's the part that's really upsetting to me. We look at all the things that are happening here on Guam. This is the issue that our Attorney General comes out of his turtle shell on, is that the CSC reinstated somebody who probably shouldn't have been fired in the first place, but he thinks they should be. I mean, we look at all the other crimes that are taking place and other actions against the government. Now, supposedly 4 months ago, I filed a petition with the legislature to do a oversight hearing on the compensation for Angel Sablon to find out how he doubled his salary without any job appraisals, because he's in a position where he supervised. So theoretically, before they doubled his salary, they had to have appraisals, like this whole
evaluation. I've seen the evaluation form. It is 20, 30 pages long, something like that.
Yeah, so there's been no evaluation, no additional duties added. The job description is still the same as it was written in 1999. So everything is still the same, and the only justification in the minutes of the Mayor's Council of Guam for his pay raises is other directors got one, I want one too. And so when I sent this petition to the legislature, Tito, who has supervisory over the mayors, said he forwarded it to Levin Camacho. to determine whether or not this is something that needs to be further handled.
Yeah. So day 3 of the Ray Gibson legislature, I'm going to eliminate the mayor's council.
Yeah.
It's beginning to feel like it's a whole other administration, doesn't it? For which there are no real controls. Who's in charge? Nobody's in charge.
Yeah. It's like putting children in charge of the classroom. You know, they get there, they get a free lunch every Wednesday, and every Wednesday they sit around and talk about ways they can make each other more happy. Starting with the pickup truck.
Yep. In the meantime, we still got stray dogs in the villages. We got random crazy crime going on in the villages, and we got trash piling up all over the place. We got people that aren't keeping their yards looking nice. I mean, just the stuff that we'd like you guys to do on a regular basis. Oh, but we have to stand there and escort the traffic through the funeral in the village and all of that stuff. You know, there's cops. A, there's cops for that, and B, maybe it's time that we stop that practice. It's 6:57 in the morning. I'm going to let you run. I'll talk to you pretty soon.
Yes, you will.
You demand this, the other Governor Leon Guerrero. And, yeah, I will continue to refer to him as the other Governor Leon Guerrero for as long as there is an actual Governor Leon Guerrero in Adelup, because I know it triggers people in the administration. There are people going to not be able to function at work today because we've triggered them again by referring to Ken Leon Guerrero as the other Governor Leon Guerrero. My buddy Nick sent this picture in. I told you, somebody right now has got a yellow plate on their phone just waiting for the call for justice for all of the taxpayers here on Guam.
Isn't that an old one?
It's not yesterday is the point, but
because I've seen that before.
It's a DPW vehicle parked over at, what is that? That's Navy Exchange,
That's in
right?
front of the package store.
Naval Hospital.
Oh, Navy Hospital. Okay, so what's it doing there? Is it possible?
Parked.
Yeah, I know it's parked, but why is it there? Why are they at the package store?
DPW is also in charge of monitoring and assessing the gas station pump, so perhaps they were there doing so.
Yes. See, that's why there's two of us.
Doubt.
I know it, and I like to be fair with the benefit of the doubt as well. So maybe they ought to have the flashers on, or maybe a guy in a vest with a hard hat or something like that.
See 24-hour.
I'm working. I am working.
It's a 24-hour vehicle, so.
Okay. I just, but Nick is wondering out loud, but somewhere is somebody goofing off in a Government of Guam car, probably at Kmart right now. So citizens on patrol, get out there and snap some pictures. Let's get some incriminating evidence. 988-5874. That's 988-5874. 7 o'clock, Phil Schroggy online. Do I have a whole bunch of people? Yes, I do. Just everybody is lined up for this program here this morning. Why? Because this is a great way to start your day. Valerie Bloss is online. I got Randy Kruger, Ramona Nakamura are online, Tanya and Emmett Affligui Conception, and plenty more. There's no way I can make it through this list right now. It's just huge. Do me a favor, hit the share button, like, and follow the radio station. You get a note when Bob and I go on the radio and on Facebook Live, etc. We are KUSG Hagutnya. This is The Point.
What the president learned from impeachment. On Lisa Brady, Fox News. He's telling reporters he learned that Democrats are crooked, as some in Congress make new allegations against him over revised sentencing guidelines for a friend. Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
With sentencing for the president's longtime friend and confidant Roger Stone set for February 20th, President Trump non-committal on whether he will pardon Stone, who was convicted for obstructing a congressional inquiry, witness intimidation, and repeatedly lying to federal investigators.
I don't want to say that yet, but I tell you what, people were hurt viciously and badly by these corrupt people.
4 federal prosecutors abruptly withdrew from the case yesterday after senior Justice Department officials intervened to recommend a more lenient sentence. Lisa?
Thanks, John. The actual sentence still up to the judge. The House Judiciary Committee chair, meantime, announcing that Attorney General William Barr will testify next month to address concerns about his leadership and what Democrats say is improper influence by the president. Democrats are also accusing President Trump of destructive and irrational cuts to social safety net programs in his new spending plan.
House Budget Committee Chair Democrat John Yarmuth says the White House is
intentionally going after working families and vulnerable Americans.
Ranking member Republican Steve Womack says the nation is nearing a fiscal crisis.
The national debt is over $23 trillion. It's projected to grow to more than $36 trillion within a decade.
While there will be debate over how money is appropriated, Democrats do not plan to present their own spending plan for fiscal year 2021, arguing there's no need under a 2-year deal signed by President Trump last year. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Record highs on Wall Street. The Dow up 274 at the closing bell. America is listening to Fox News.
Docomo Pacific wants to keep your business connected. When you sign up for a smart business bundle, you're gaining more than just mobile, internet, and phone services. Receive unbeatable value for your money and the convenience of having it all on one bill. All your business services on the widest and fastest network in Guam and the Marianas. Call 688-2677 for more information on partnering your business. Docomo Pacific Business, delivering your future today.
Half a day. This is Alicia Blas from Security Title with a gentle reminder that your first installment of property taxes is due February 20. You might not know, but if you purchase property after March 4, 2019, you most likely will not receive a tax bill in the mail, but you still owe the tax. To make payment, take a copy of your deed to Revenue Tax in Barragata and ask for the tax bill. When it comes to your family land, call the professionals at Security Title. We are here to help.
The number of new cases of the coronavirus dropping for a second straight day in China, which already has most of the more than 45,000 confirmed cases worldwide, including over 1,100 deaths. The U.S. still monitoring travelers.
Health screenings continue at 11 U.S. airports where Chinese nationals do arrive into the U.S. still, just not people from the city of Wuhan or Hubei province, where the outbreak of coronavirus is centered. Dr. Nancy Messonnier is with the U.S. Centers for Disease Control.
Most of these people are coming from parts of mainland China outside of Hubei, show no symptoms, and have not been assessed as high risk. Those who pass the screening continue on to their final destination, where they self-monitor their health for 14 days.
The U.S. has had only 13 domestic confirmed cases and almost always involve persons who traveled to Wuhan before travel restrictions went into effect. Eben Brown, Fox News.
A shootout in Baltimore as members of a fugitive task force tried to serve an arrest warrant. 2 officers injured, the suspect killed. Officials just confirming that suspect was a former state corrections official under investigation. A man accused of driving into a voter registration tent in Florida claims he did it to make a stand against someone he doesn't like. President Trump.
According to a Jacksonville, Florida arrest report, 27-year-old Gregory Tim used his van as a weapon last weekend, attempting to plow into a group wearing Trump gear, which was registering voters. Police say the driver recorded it all on his camera phone and at the end flipped the crowd the bird. Tim remains locked up and held on a $500,000 bond. The Duval County GOP responded, quote, "It is high time that the national media begin to act responsibly in this case and call this deranged criminal's attack what has been clear, an obvious assault motivated by blind rage toward President Trump." Democrats have called for mutual civility.
Fox's Phil Keating in Miami. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Chili's 2 for $25 is back. Start with an appetizer to share. Then choose 2 entrees like our mouth-watering old-timer with cheeseburger or the Cajun chicken pasta, grilled chicken with penne and Alfredo sauce, and chili spices. Feeling extra? Upgrade to a personal fajita or our famous half-rack ribs. Bring a friend or a date to Chili's and get 2 entrees for $25. Located on the 2nd floor of Tumon Sands Plaza. Chili's. More life happens here.
Hafa Day, Guam. We'd like to invite you to join us February 23 for the Guahan Festival of Hope with Franklin Graham at the Guam Football Association soccer field next to Dedido Sports Complex. Franklin Graham will be on Guam to share a life-changing message of God's love and hope for every one of us. This hope-filled event will also feature musical performances by Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter Michael W. Smith. Tommy Coombs Band, and Dennis Agianian. Don't miss this free once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Come join us for an afternoon of music and a life-changing message of God's love and hope on February 23 at the Guam Football Association soccer field, starting at 4:30 p.m. Gates open at 3:30 p.m. Admission is free. For additional information and updates, visit us and like our Facebook page at Guahan Festival of Hope. See you there. God bless you and God bless Guam.
Your 7 o'clock news is brought to you by Horizon Properties.
It's 7 7:06. I'm Mona Silva Tyron, and here's a look at some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. The victims say they are left to live in fear and continue to suffer flashbacks. They wanted a maximum sentence for the two brothers who attacked cars along a road in Mangilao. Instead, 19-year-old Emmanuel Resalop got 24 years and 25-year-old Jordan Ruchalop given a 12-year sentence. The two were convicted in connection to the June 2019 machete attack in Mangilao. Both brothers taking responsibility for their actions, then they apologized to the victims and to the Chukis and Micronesian communities. The men admitted to being drunk when they got into a fight, stabbed one of their cousins, and then went on to attack a number of passing cars with a machete. Former Chief of Police and Senator and current University of Guam professor Judy Guthertz was one of the victims in the incident. She told the court she continues to live in fear and still gets flashbacks. She asked for the maximum sentence. She told the court, quote, whenever serious offenders get a mere slap on the hand, the victims of the actions get a slap in the face, and the community distrust of our island's criminal justice system grows even more. The brothers will be back in court at a later date for a restitution hearing. The Office of the Attorney General is close to completing its criminal investigation into a viral video that shows a Guam police officer at Ipoh Beach appearing to punch an arrestee in the stomach as he was cuffed and escorted into a patrol car. Guam police have identified the officer in the video as Joey Uggan. The AG told the Guam Daily Post that the investigation into the matter is expected to conclude soon. The incident also led to an internal affairs investigation at GPD and a civil rights investigation with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. On Wednesday, Police Chief Steve Ignacio issued a press release stating that he stands firm, quote, our officers must be above reproach in their performance of their duties. He said the IA investigation isn't over and assured the community that they will always ensure the rights of the citizens will be protected. Uggan was placed on paid administrative leave while the three other Tumon precinct officers in the video were reassigned. Uggan has since returned to work. The police department has not released the names of the other officers being investigated. The Department of Administration prepared an additional 285 checks for adjudicated war claims this week. Those checks will be issued to the claimants that have been verified by the U.S. Department of Treasury and approved for payout under the local program. Recipients were called yesterday, and the checks will be distributed at the War Claims Processing Center today and tomorrow. Those checks that were not picked up, those will be mailed out. Claimants picking up the checks must bring with them some valid form of identification and verify their Social Security number. Now, the Guam War Claims Processing Center will close its doors officially on Friday at 4 p.m., and further war claims processing will be available at Adelup from 9 to 4 on weekdays. The governor's office said more checks will be issued in the coming weeks. As the Treasury Department continues to verify the claims submitted through the local program, recipients can expect to receive a phone call notifying them that the checks have been issued and were mailed. More news after this.
Rent, lease. What does Horizon do for you? Here's a clue. Advertising, marketing, screening, inspecting, instructing, leasing and signing, collecting and complying, inquiring and assessing, coordinating, repairing, renewing, enforcing, evicting, moving, cleaning, rekeying, communicating. Do it yourself and you'll find it taxing. We work hard to keep the vacancies low, so at the end of the month, you collect the dough. Proven and trusted. Horizon Properties. We do it all. 777-7792.
Acting Governor Josh Tenorio has signed 2 bills updating workers' compensation laws on Guam. The first measure improves the island's 30-year-old compensation rates, as well as authorizes facilities other than the Guam Memorial Emergency Department to see employees who wish to file claims. The second bill imposes fines ranging from $250,000 to $25,000 for employers who violate their obligations under the Workers' Compensation Law. It also changes the makeup of the Workers' Compensation Commission, impaneling more subject matter experts and allowing for long-distance conferencing. And the government of Guam is anticipating the arrival of coronavirus test kits in the next couple of weeks, allowing testing to be conducted locally rather than sending the specimens off island. Public Health confirmed its laboratory equipment was calibrated and is ready for the testing, and the kits are expected to arrive before the end of the month. Meanwhile, there's some that are raising concern over a friendship basketball game scheduled to take place on Guam, where players from Hong Kong will be hosted by the Guam team. The Bank of Guam men's national basketball team on Thursday, February 20th, is hosting the Hong Kong men's national team. The Team Guam players are more worried about the opponents than the virus. And while tourism and travel officials may be leery about the arrival of the team, especially in light of the rejection of a cruise ship which arrived from Hong Kong, the AB Wampat International Airport says it's following federal travel guidelines. That means that travelers from Hong Kong are allowed entry into Guam unless they show symptoms that will trigger an assessment by Guam public health officials, and a 14-day quarantine will take place if necessary. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
Partly cloudy and breezy with isolated showers. Northeast winds 20 to 25 miles an hour, gusting to around 35 miles an hour. Expected highs today about 86 degrees. For tonight, partly cloudy and breezy with isolated light showers again. Northeast winds 15 to 25 miles an hour. Expected overnight lows this evening about 74 degrees. It's going to be sunset at 6:25. Be careful if you're going around the water. We do have high surf advisories in effect through Sunday night along east-facing reefs. High surf advisory in effect through Friday night along north-facing reefs, and a high risk of rip currents through the weekend just about everywhere. So be on the lookout for the surf and the seas. You can almost tell by standing at the beach, even in Tumon. Stand at the edge of the bay and look at the wind literally pushing the waves over the reef and making even bigger waves inside the not bigger waves but more wave activity inside Tumon Bay. So be very careful out there. Watch out for each other. If you see somebody going into water and they don't look like they know what they're doing, tell them they don't know what they're doing. 7:13 in the morning. That's news and weather together here on The Point.
Here at APL, our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future, whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community. Our dedicated team in Guam and on the U.S. mainland are here to support you. So call 588-4651 or visit www.apl.com.
Day. This is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
My turn. I can start bragging about people that advertise on this show. Awesome. Like my friends over at American President Lines, Charlie Hermosa and the guys, global presence with a local home. Guam Regional Medical City, the first choice for all of your specialty care needs. And Mezcla, the bistro. Maybe you've heard of the place. They got one in Agana and another one at the Grand Plaza Hotel in Tumon, where you can take advantage of the Ray of Love Valentine's special. Have dinner tomorrow night after sunset. What kind of dinner? I'd go for this because I'm that guy. I'm a Southern spiced, crispy fried chicken. It's Cajun-style, Louisiana-inspired fried half chickens served with red beans and rice, available in Agana and in Tumon at the Grand Plaza Hotel. For reservations for Mezcla, call 969-2652. And if you keep listening, I'll give you the reservations to use the Ray of Love special at the Grand Plaza Hotel in just a few minutes. It's 7:15 on The Ray Gibson Show.
Rediscover talk radio here. Your FM News Talk Superstation. This is The Point.
There it is. That's what I was looking for. 6470630 and mentioned the Ray of Love special. Stay for a night, $129. That includes dinner for breakfast for two at Mezcla. If you stay for a couple of nights, it's $99 plus tax with breakfast for two over at Mezcla. 7:15 in the morning. 888-255-888-TALK. Jerry Roberts already in studio. We'll get caught up with the extra point. I'm told there could be some surprises for us in the extra point today. So I'll try not to lead too much into that, but we do need to take a look at what's going on the markets. It's a great day for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I'll scare up some numbers for you here in just a second. The page is, as usual, reloading at this time. But, yeah, it was a good day. Hit record territory, 29,551.42. Picked up 275 points. NASDAQ, 87 points in the green. This ought to be record territory for them as well, 97.25. S&P 500 up 21 points to close at 33,079. Markets in America are just banging right now. FTSE's up 34 points, 75.34. The Nikkei up 175 points. Well, you want to talk about banging in the East on the Asian markets as well. 23,861 for the Nikkei. I got the Hang Seng Index at 27,823. They're up 239 points. Shanghai up by 25 points to close at 29. Is that 29, 26? Yeah, that's where we are. And the DAX is up by 121 points. Everybody got a reason to smile based on these market reports. I'll give you a couple more here in a second. The DAX, as I said, up 121 points, 13,749. And I like to take a look at the commodities. Now, we got a couple of interesting stories here with oil. First of all, Tapas is down. Tapas is under $60 a barrel by a penny, but it's under $60 a barrel. So that's good news. West Texas crude, $50.02 yesterday, up 51.55 here today. And here's what's happening. Everybody getting together. The senior analysts are looking at the global oil market, and one of the biggest customers for oil and energy is China. And China is basically ground to a halt from Wuhan out as a result of the coronavirus, and that means that there are going to be less demand for oil. And you're going, well, shouldn't that make it cheaper? No, because what's going to happen is everybody that pulls oil out of the ground is going to halt their production. They're going to slow down the valves, as it were, and we're going to decrease the supply. And anytime you decrease the supply, what happens to the price? Goes up, just like it did today. So watch for that to develop along with coronavirus and the other worldwide economic effects of this coronavirus. Jerry Roberts, what's that? Unless
the president
of the United States of America,
yes, encourages people to release a little bit of the oil in America.
Already a net exporter of oil to the United States.
Yeah.
And
release a little bit more.
So release a little bit more, and that could push.
While the other ones are decreasing, he's increasing, and it stabilizes, and the prices go down.
See what happens. We are a part of that crew now with all of the fracking and everything else that goes on in the country. 718. So we got that particular piece of happy news here, and another story. Where I don't know why, every once in a while you get that feeling like you look up at Saipan and go, boy, these guys are in trouble. You know, they got the feds looking at the governor and everybody else in the administration. We hear all kinds of stories, horror stories about labor with their big gigantic casino that's going up. I don't know that there's a functioning movie theater in Saipan anymore.
I think there is.
I remember they'd had a nice one, and then realized nobody's going to the movies anymore, and they had to shut down. I don't know if they've ever reopened, but there is at least a little bit of light, a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel.
There is
up in Saipan. Yes,
illuminate us.
They're opening a roller skating rink. They're opening a roller skating rink in Saipan. This is great. P&A Corporation will open a roller skating rink at the Winners Residence Fetna Road up in San Antonio. GM Doi Kim said besides an indoor skating rink, International Roller Skates will feature arcade games and a cafe. While it's not something new in other countries, I think it's the first for Saipan, Kim said. The idea of opening up a skating rink came from his father. It's very popular in Korea for both young and old people growing up in Korea. She said roller skating was one of the activities that she and her friends enjoyed doing, so they're going to be opening up in some kind of warehousey-looking facility. Mariana's Variety's got the story if you want to take a look at it. Now we're old enough in this room to remember Skateland.
Skateland.
That was a big deal. Skateland, a little bit of bragging here. Skateland was one of the original sponsors of the original Ray Gibson show back in the late 70s.
Whoa.
They sponsored the program because they said, oh, this guy works nights in the radio station talking to the kids and all of that stuff. And it didn't work because they went out of business. They eventually went out of business. What's the grocery store? There's a grocery store there now. Up in
7 Day Grocery, I think.
Yeah.
7 Days. American
Grocery. That was built on the carcass of the old Skateland.
I remember.
Do you remember Skates?
My 8th birthday was at Skateland.
Was it Skateland or was it Skates and Blades? Skates and Blades.
Skateland.
Skateland. Okay, Skates and Blades was a place. I remember Skates and Blades.
Harmon Industrial Park. Yeah.
Going in there.
I never did the Skates and Blade.
Oh no, that's a broken bone waiting to happen. Every time I'd ever gotten onto the thing, it was one of those things where I go, you know what? I can feel my collarbones breaking right now as I'm stumbling towards this thing. And the only guy that I knew that could do blades real good, Joe Cunningham.
Yeah, that's
Remember?
right.
Oh,
Uncle
so
Toad.
there was a time, I think
Yes,
it was
he did.
like an entire year. He was always wearing blades.
And running a camera, too, on
Yeah.
the parade route.
Yeah, that was my camera,
Oh,
by the way. So
okay.
it's FYI, that was my camera. And he'd get in there and he'd do all these Zoom shots. He'd play them on HRTV. It was just crazy. But it seemed like he was always in blades and short pants.
Yep.
Somewhere around there, maybe one of the kids will see if they can scrounge up some of that old video
And the
that
short
Joe
pants
had.
because you want them?
It's a thing now. But Joe probably there might still be a pair of Joe's corduroy shorts running around somewhere without him. 7:21 in the morning. So there it is. If you're looking for an idea, and I'm fond of saying this because there's a lot of people that will poo-poo the Korean market. Say, oh, they don't spend as much as the Japanese do. And I'm going, you know what? I'm sure they came here with the same amount of money as some of the Japanese tourists, but we're just not offering enough for them to do. A lot of them, they come out with the families. Mom and dad's got someplace nice to go shopping. Mom and dad got someplace nice to take everybody to go eat. But what do the kids have to do? Right. Other than hang out at the beach, if they're lucky enough to be staying over at Pacific Islands Club, there's a lot of activities. But other than that, once you walk out the front doors, they got Tagada up by on Santos Hill, but there aren't too many other recreational opportunities. And I'm just saying, it's a skating rink. It's a floor surrounded by four walls. You get somebody out there that plays the music that sound like tennis shoes going around in a dryer, and you bring back some of the old stuff. You know, the all skates, girl skates only, couple skate, reverse skate, hokey pokey, all of those kinds of things.
Do you know where the real skaters up there used to go? It's that shopping center that became defunct. The one I think I talked about it once time. It's way out
The
there.
Fiesta?
Was it Fiesta?
I think it was
kind of a slant,
by
kind
the
of a-
Nico.
Yeah, kind of the area was slanted a little bit, and the guys with skateboards out there were just going crazy.
And they might still be able to, but I don't know. If you walk by the place
It's empty,
anymore,
yeah.
I think you get tetanus.
Was it San Roque Mall?
I
can't.
It was fancy, I'll say that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of distant.
And
That's
they had a wall of butts.
Yeah, I
Do you
remember the wall of butts. Yes, that's a little
That's
bit
where
disturbing.
the radio station was there.
I don't recall us having a radio station there when
it
we
wasn't
were
ours,
touring.
but I remember there was a radio station in there, and then across the radio station was the wall of butts. It was San Roque Mall.
Pam Duvall's husband would know because he was a fixture in Saipan around the time. Clayton would know, and Clayton could probably identify whose butts those were on the walls
I think
there.
they were famous butts.
I think they were. I think they were famous people from Saipan. I think they were well-known folks from up in Saipan. But anyway, I'm just saying it might be some inspiration there for somebody looking for an opportunity around here. There's a whole bunch of warehouses that were created for the military buildup that hasn't really shown up yet. So maybe you can do that with that for a couple of years until they start coming in bigger numbers. Although there is good news on that one as well. $204 million worth of contracts that are going out to build the bachelor's housing up at. I love the way this sounds. Camp Blas. And then it's a big contract that has been recently awarded. So expect some more of that mill spend to be coming in on a couple of towers to house about 300 men and women in the Marine Corps when that starts being
So
fun.
that contract went to the Alabama company.
I believe it did. Yep.
Yeah.
7:30, 7:24. Is that what time it is? I think now would be a good time to start talking about the Extra Point, being brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and the team over at First Hawaiian Bank, where it all starts with yes.
Why do good employees quit? What are the reasons some of the best workers say goodbye and walk out the door? Today, 3 more of those reasons that this can happen to you if you're not careful. That's next on the Extra Point.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
An easily overlooked part of covering our home is what's inside of it. Over time, we buy things we don't want to lose, but don't update our contents coverage. The smart thing to do is get the answers and level up our insurance to make sure we're totally protected.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
In our first installment on why good workers leave, we started with, number 1, we don't follow through on our commitments to them. 2, we're inconsistent, possibly in our message, treatment of people, and maybe in applying workplace rules. And 3, we ignore their ideas. Those are all significant motivators to have a good employee seek other pastures. Today, we've got more that can drive them off. I'm hoping none of what is to follow is familiar for you. 4, They are not trusted to make decisions. One of the most frustrating things many workers face is when their boss micromanages almost everything and doesn't give them much input on how things are done. They get an assignment, and then the boss tells them how to do it. In a world where we want to grow talent by delegating not just work, but also the authority to see it through, this is an issue. How can I prove to you what I'm capable of if you don't ever let me make any decisions? Number 5, keeping problem workers and tolerating bad behavior. Is this one a little bit unexpected? Think about it. Talented and engaged workers want to achieve goals and grow. They want to be a part of a winning team. They want to be around other good workers. What they don't want is to have to deal with unnecessary trouble or be forced to put up with troublemakers. When an employer refuses to remove negative influences that drag a team down, really good workers begin to wonder if the organization has lost its direction. That's just one thought away from, hey, what am I doing here? And looking for the exit sign. Let's be straight about this. It's not a small issue, and it's not going away. The younger generations in the workplace, millennials and Generation Z, have much less tolerance for this kind of thing. Number 6, people definitely want to leave us when we embarrass them in front of others. I've talked about this before. If you want to praise an employee, make sure to do it in front of as many of their coworkers as possible. However, if you need to give them anything that even resembles negative feedback, it has to be private and away from the ears of anyone else. One more thing, and I sincerely hope it really doesn't have to be said, but here goes anyway, because I got to fill another 45 seconds. The only time you ever talk behind a worker's back is to praise them. Now, a little bit of interactive. Put your left hand on the radio or the steering wheel. Raise your right hand to heaven and repeat after me. Say your name.
I, William Raymond Gibson.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will never ever.
That I will never ever.
Criticize any worker in front of any other worker.
Criticize any worker in front of any other worker.
Especially when they are not around.
Especially when they're not around.
So help me God.
What have you heard?
Because if you do, be advised that you will have just set fire to trust in your workplace, and you will deserve whatever comes from that. Tomorrow, more reasons the good ones will hit the road on you if you ain't doing the right things. That's the extra point. Get out there and make something good happen today. For 93.3, The Ray Gibson Show, Guahan Insurance Services, and First Hawaiian Bank. I'm Jerry Roberts.
All right, Jerry Roberts. That was a good one. It's self-explanatory. Doesn't need a whole lot of embellishment at the end of it.
And I appreciate your participation.
Not a problem. So here's the drill, guys. Go to GuamTraining.com of the World Wide Web. Get transcripts for that and the previous versions of the previous episodes
in
about
this
20
minutes.
Yeah, and you'll be able to get those things, read them up, and see if you can apply those to work, especially working with new supervisors. This is one of those things where you go, okay, well, like, all the old guys retired, they moved off, whatever, and you got a bunch of new supervisors that didn't go to supervisor school, and frankly are just the last men standing. They need some training, and no doubt that there's probably more than 1 or 2 articles that you'll find at GuamTraining.com that will give them that. You might want to make an investment in their future and your future with the Live to Lead conference.
Yes, sir. Coming up on February 27th. It's a Thursday at the Dusitani. And all those details are at GuamTraining.com/live2 lead. And we're welcome to have you out there.
7:30. 7:30 in the morning. That's Jerry Roberts. He takes care of the extra point. Don't forget, you got to write a commercial so that we can air it on the radio station so we get more people.
I will do that today.
Good man. All right.
Thank you.
Montecillo Tyron's got headlines coming up, brought to you by Lolita Camet of Remax Diamond Realty for all of your real estate needs. She's the lady to call, 688-6743. Again, 688-6743. Now with news from the Guam Daily Post, here's Montecillo Tyron.
Coronavirus kits will arrive on Guam in the next couple of weeks. This means that testing can be done locally rather than having to send them off island. Public Health confirmed that the lab equipment was calibrated and they are ready for the testing. The test kits will arrive again in a couple of weeks. Users of the island's public swimming pools say the maintenance contracts for the pools are questionable and continue to raise upset over the constant closures of the 2 swimming pools in Agana and in Dededo. As part of the FOIA requests, the Daily Post was able to obtain a copy of the $660,000 contract with Canton Construction. The contract expires in May of this year, and DPR given the option to renew. Not sure, though, if they will renew since the company has failed to keep the pools clean and open to the public. 2 men charged in a machete attack in Manila were sentenced in the Superior Court. 19-year-old Emmanuel Resalap wiped tears from his eyes as he received a 24-year sentence. His brother, 25-year-old Jordan Resalap, given a 12-year sentence. Both brothers taking responsibility for their actions and apologized to the victims of their machete attack and the Chukis and Micronesian communities, which they say they embarrassed. And those are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, pick up a copy of the paper, log on to their website at postguam.com.
I can do that. 7:31 in the morning, and that is iConnect time. Hi, Philly Stan. Nice to see you there. Checking on the radio to make sure I got all of your spots ready to go for iConnect at the Micronesia Mall. Phil Schragi is on Facebook Live as well, making sure that I mention the Micronesia Mall from time to time. Nice place for a skating rink, Phil. Just saying. You know, there's a Macy's up there that I don't go to a lot. You could totally get rid of all the women's clothes up there and turn the place into a skating rink. Wouldn't that be fun? And it would skate down the stairs and then skate up the escalators. Maybe I'm not the best at mall management. I'm just saying. But anyway, so let me get back to iConnect. Go to iConnect. There's iConnect over at the Micronesia Mall as well. And I don't want to say they've gutted and retrofitted and refitted, but they've gone in there with a whole change in attitude and toys to play with. You like gizmos? You like things that charge your phone? You like things that get noise out of your phone? Maybe put noise into the phones? iPhones, Samsungs, all kinds of stuff available for you. And it's Valentine's, and everybody likes getting the gizmo for Valentine's. Something to unwrap. Get it at iConnect at the Micronesia Mall.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad. Woo! Go Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Woo! Give me a ham and jack slider.
Ham and jack slider.
Give me an Italian spice slider.
Italian spice slider.
What's that spell?
It doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Go Sliders!
Subway, make it what you want.
Lolita Cammett from RE/MAX Diamond Realty, a friendly, hardworking, and passionate RE/MAX professional who is committed to helping you make a difference in your life and helping you achieve the American dream of home ownership. She also specializes in commercial leasing, land sales, local residential sales leasing, military, and corporate relocation. So for all your real estate needs, call Lolita Cammett from RE/MAX Diamond Realty at 688-6743. That's 688-6743.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,600 by calling Family Finance in Agutya at 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626, or in Dededo 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
It's Ray Gibson Show on 93.3 The Point. My name is Ray. Just a reminder now that you need to go and get at least one meal a week, perhaps one meal a day over at Denny's. They make it easy. They got these different varieties they've got, so every day different kind of lunch soup that they've got. So today's Thursday. Oh my God, today's Thursday. Oxtail. It's oxtail soup Tuesday and Thursdays. It's so nice they serve it twice in a week here. Oxtail soup Tuesday, Thursdays with rice while supplies last. Make Denny's your new lunch spot.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
What happened? There's traffic. All right. 7:35 in the morning, and generally, you got issues with traffic around this time. And stupid gizmo. It's not showing me what I want it to see. Okay, I got it. All right, traffic in and out, actually not as bad as it looks, unless the thing is broken. I'm not seeing a whole lot of major traffic at any of the major intersections, but I guarantee that there are going to be places where traffic will slow you down. Getting into Dededo, getting into intersection of Route 1 and 3. Maybe a little bit of traffic. Yeah, definitely there. It refreshed and showed me where the sin spots are here. And it looks like Route 3, trying to get to Marine Corps Drive, is going to be a bear. 8, 10, and 16 running very chunky traffic from about where the ball fields are. Over by where the Olympiacos have that little show place there. So you get, excuse me, you got that. And then traffic into the one good intersection into Teason. Having a Klitsky moment here, aren't I?
Cough in your shirt.
Well, it's not. I feel like a cat with a hairball or something like that. I think I got it. I think I got it out of my system. Put the music back on. Put the music back on. I'm not done, son. I got traffic coming out of Sinahanya onto Route 4 and into the downtown Hagutnya area. That is not running as smooth as we'd like it to be this morning. And a little bit of traffic in red spots up and down Marine Corps Drive, over at Sumai, Big Navy, that whole area there. 7:37, and that's right now. Traffic on the point.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
Chili's 2 for $25 is back. Start with an appetizer to share. Then choose 2 entrees like our mouth-watering old-timer with cheeseburger or the Cajun chicken pasta, grilled chicken with penne and Alfredo sauce, and chili spices. Feeling extra? Upgrade to a personal fajita or our famous half-rack ribs. Bring a friend or a date to Chili's and get 2 entrees for $25. Located on the second floor of Tumon Sands Plaza. Chili's. More life happens here.
Well, post away, dude. Post away. Got a note on the WhatsApp. Says, I think it was just checking the number to make sure he had it right. So like half a day and 988-5874. That's the number. If you got pictures of government of Guam vehicles parked where they're not supposed to be parked, i.e., like in front of places that you would normally be associating with, like shopping, et cetera, unless there's a crime going on or unless there's something that requires the emergency DPW vehicle to be there, then why are they there? I'm remembering it was the beginning of the Gutierrez administration, and it might have been a day one thing. It might have been the first day that Carl Gutierrez was officially the governor of Guam, and I remember there was a notice that went out through the at the time there was no WhatsApp, but it went out through the Halai that he didn't want to see any yellow tags at Kmart. And so that was the deal, and he sent it out, and it was loud and clear. And you didn't see yellow plates at Kmart. You didn't see him at Ross. You didn't see him at the Micronesia Mall. You didn't see him at GPO. You didn't see him at the Hulali Shopping Center unless there was government of Guam work that was being done out there, and that had to be followed up. And for a long time, it didn't seem like there were a lot of abuses of government vehicles. But it feels, I don't know why, it feels like it's creeping back up, like there's more of these vehicles that are out there. And yeah, I suppose there might be some positions in the government of Guam that warrant, quote, a company vehicle for their bosses and managers. Though I've got to say, I think some of these positions and some of the salaries that these guys are getting would probably merit the idea that they can afford their own car. It's like, oh, yeah, I got the government's paying for my cell phone. Really? You can't cover a $50 a month cell phone bill on that salary? Get out of here. How do you manage? All kinds of other people have to get by with less. 888-825-888-TALK is the telephone number. I don't know how she does it. Keena McCausland, who doesn't even live here on Guam, was able to scrounge up a really, really nice picture of what looks like sunset over in Teason. Is that what I'm looking at, Mona? What do you think? Sunrise, sunset.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe JFK, but that looks like a sunrise. Is it Teason?
I don't know. She said it was taken over at Teason. We'll see what we can find out.
Very pretty.
So we've got that. That's one of the things that I wanted to show off. One of the other ones is a video piece from Ozzy, as it were. I love that guy's name, Ozzy the Cop. Mm-hmm. And last time he and I were together, we were on the hunt for my cell phone down at Southern Precinct, down in Agate. But I didn't get to ride in his carreta with him. I rode with somebody else. But always an eye opener when you get to spend some time with him. Now, how does he fit in those clothes? Have you ever seen Ozzy in his uniform? He's literally spilling out of them. He's like all muscles and I don't know how he manages.
You need to ask him.
I could do something like that. 20 away from the top of the hour. 888-825-5888 TALK. And here's the
You're
big.
not going to play his thing?
No, I will. I've got,
okay.
well, the thing is, I've got Judy Guthertz, former senator, former director of, at the time, I want to say it was DPS, right? When you were the boss of that shop, or had it already turned into the Department of Public Safety?
Actually, Ray, I was the last director of public safety and the first acting chief of police.
Okay, there we go. All right, because there used to be different names for all of that
Yes.
stuff back in the day when everybody was under the same roof, and you wonder if maybe it was a good idea separating them or whatever. But the headline here this morning: brothers in machete attack apologize to victims. In my mind, too much, too little, too little, too late to be able to do anything. And I think many of those tears probably brought on by the stiffness of the sentences that were handed down by Judge Vern Perez. Resolop serving 24 years in prison. His brother Rachelev has got 12 years in prison. You were pushing for even greater sentences, weren't you?
Well, I was pushing for the maximum sentence possible. And, of course, I'm pleased with the actions of the court and Judge Perez's decision. I think, Ray, first of all, you know, this case was a serious case. It was very traumatizing for those of us that were in our cars when we were being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And there were two people that were physically harmed. One was a cousin of those boys, who, as you know, was knifed and almost emboweled. And then there was also a young man on a bicycle that they attacked with a machete who got hurt. So, you know, it was a serious case. And my interest was to ensure that there was no plea bargaining and that this whole thing take its proper course.
Can we touch on that? Can we touch on that just real quick? I had the other day I had Lieben Camacho in the studio, and he wanted to dispel what has become conventional thinking around here, that the Attorney General's office is making plea bargains and letting people out, but generally says that those plea bargains aren't pursued unless the victims authorize and otherwise approve it. Were you contacted by the Attorney General's office and asked if you would be interested in hearing about a plea deal?
Well, I wasn't contacted about that, but I made it known to them when this case was under preparation. I was asked to visit the Attorney General's office and meet with the attorney in charge of the case, Attorney Brown, who's extremely efficient and professional. And I made it very clear to him that I would not like to see a plea bargain in this case. We've had enough of that on the island. And in order to stop this kind of behavior, we need some stiff justice. And, you know, I never heard them talk about plea bargains. Every time I had a chance to ask about it, is there a plea bargain under consideration? Because there were many postponements of this case and many postponements of the sentencing. No, there's no plea bargain under consideration. Every time I asked, that was the response I got.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, so that was good. And I think the lesson here is this. First of all, you know me, Ray, I'm not the kind of person that wants to hurt anybody, or I don't believe in retribution. And I've always been very supportive of all the people of our island, and I still am. However, I do believe that we've had too many instances like this where the sentences have been very, very small, too many probations, too many second, third chances. And then what we see is the same individuals going out and doing the same thing over again. So in this case,
almost every day, Judy, I read something in the magistrate report about somebody that has been picked up for one crime or another, usually meth related. In the final analysis, after review, they find out that there's a bench warrant out for his arrest for probation violations, or they're on pretrial release. And you know, back in our day, Judy, I want to say you got if they let you out for a pretrial release, that was your opportunity to go and get a nice haircut and time with the lawyer and go to church and find a way to get right with Jesus and atone for your sins. But anymore these days, I think a lot of these crooks out here, I think a lot of these thugs have learned how to game the system with their lawyers, so they're virtually no time in jail awaiting sentencing and awaiting trials.
That's correct. And so, really, Ray, I in one way, I feel because of my background, experience in the past, and my tenacity about things, that I probably, because of that, I was able to get the point across that justice has to be served and no mamsy-pamsy decisions, right? That was my message. But if it was somebody else who wasn't known, they should be able to seek the same and receive the same justice. Now, in this particular case, there were a number of victims. There were at least 7 vehicles involved with people inside.
I recall.
While they were being attacked.
See, but we've got to be careful here, Judy, because you remember the last time we talked in breathless tones about the quote incident. The media was accused of exaggerating all of these different claims and the nature of the brawl.
Accused. Yes, I was also accused.
Yeah.
I was very offended by that, and I let it be known through my contacts that those who said that were wrong, and they should not have said that. I think it was an emotional reaction on their part to try to calm the community, and there may have been other reasons, but they should not have said that. And that's one reason I was motivated to go through this for 8 months. This has been going on for 8 months.
Yeah.
Waiting for yesterday's court action. And one thing I learned, and this is what's going to discourage people from sticking with it, is there are always so many postponements. The defense attorney asks for more time. They have to do this. It conflicts with their other schedule, this and that. And then the defendants need more time to understand the possible consequences of what may happen, this and that. Postpone. And the sentencing was postponed about 5 times. And in the meantime, I'm waiting. And plus, I have duties. I have teaching duties.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me just to leave my class to go to court. But I made a point of doing it, and I was given permission to do it. And I'm glad I stuck with it.
Well, because it always feels like the scales of justice seem to be tipped in favor of the criminals and not the victims and not the community. So when I see verdicts and sentencing coming down like this, I'm holding out a little bit of hope that maybe the word that you gave them at the courthouse yesterday, whenever serious offenders get a mere slap on the hand, the victims of their actions get a slap in the face. Community distrust of our island's criminal system grows even more. And I have been distrustful of the criminal justice system here on Guam because I'm reading all of these magistrate reports again, and I'm hearing from victims, and I'm just existing in this community, same as everybody else, where we've got all of these cases of random crime. I got somebody coming up on my door, knocking on my door at 10 o'clock at night, and he's all looped up on crystal methamphetamine. He's him and his buddy with the white Saki van out in the front of the house, and all I can think of is this is getting ready to be a home invasion.
Oh my goodness, that's terrible.
Oh yeah, I can protect myself, thankfully. But what about the lady next door that can't? What about the old couple across the street? They're asking to just waiting to be victims out there. We don't have enough cops on the road. We've got 17 was the number of working police units that are out there. It was never that bad when you were in the cop shop.
Let me tell you, Ray, when I was director and chief, and remember I was a police reserve officer before that, right?
Of course.
We didn't have money either, and we had very little resources. I remember one of the first things I did my first day at DPS is I took away all the vehicles that the officers, the gold bar guys, were driving. Apparently that was the privilege. If you had a gold bar, then a car would be assigned to you. Well, I took them all away, and I gave them to the patrol division, and we repainted them for patrol work, and also to the deltas, to the detectives. You just have to maximize your resources, even under the most difficult time. But I have to say this. Our community has to be more aggressive and demand that our leaders in the legislature and in Adelup give our police department the resources they need and our corrections department the resources they need. Because our police officers have proven over and over again they can crack cases very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They have a great record in finding offenders, and I want to commend them for that. But they do need the resources that are required. They should be doing 2 or 3 police academies a year. Just in a natural way, because of attrition, 2 or 3 police academies a year in order to keep up with the numbers of officers that are needed.
Yep. You're getting thumbs up. You're getting thumbs up from all the viewers. I mean, we're all singing the same song, but it doesn't feel like anybody is listening. And when I feel bad for these victims advocacy groups that went out, and I'm sure I'll bet you were one of them that stood on the side of the road with the word enough written on the palm of your hand. If you weren't there, you know people that were, and all of the politicians, you called them leaders, they're representatives. All of the politicians were out there standing out there with their, like it was some kind of a photo opportunity. They were not to be the transmitters of the message. They were supposed to be the receivers of the message that this community has had enough, and more needs to be done. In fact, tonight, Jim Moylan has got another one of these community forums up in Ironwood Estates in Dededo. More on that in a couple of minutes. But I'm glad that you were there, and I'm glad that you said the things to people that maybe were in a position to do something about it. Every time these guys get a mere slap on the hand, it's a slap in the face to our community.
Absolutely, Ray. And I want to work with everybody. I want to work with our different diversity communities on Guam, and also the law enforcement community, and even our leaders. And when this happened, I volunteered. I told the leadership, I told the police chief, who was my student years ago, by the way, that if you need help, if you need another volunteer on your citizens group, let me know. I'll help. No one ever asked me.
Well, you call in anytime you need editorial platform. We'll see if we can get some people scared straight.
Yes, and we'll continue this, Ray. But I do want to tell you this: that my plan now, because I gave those boys quite a lecture yesterday with my victim statement, but I also wanted it to be educational, because I was speaking not just on behalf of myself. I was speaking on behalf of our whole island, So in the end of my statement, I said, it's time for you guys to get a life and to move forward and improve yourselves and learn as much as you can, take a new path, because this is not the end for you. This could be the beginning of something better. It's up to you. And I do plan to visit them when visiting will be allowed, maybe in a couple months. I don't know what the requirements are at DOC right now, but I plan to go there with a lot of materials for them to read and study, because I want them to improve their lives. These are young men, and one of them has 5 children. Can you believe that?
Yeah. Let's feel for those kids for sure.
I don't want to leave things on the negative. I always want to leave things on a positive. So I'm going to be collecting various books that I think will help them if they're really interested in improving their lives. And when they do leave there, to be prepared to contribute to the community and to lead their children into good lives as well.
I hope you are successful in that. I hope you're successful there, Judy. Keep me up to date on that, would you?
I sure will.
All right. I'll talk to you very, very soon. I feel terrible that incident happened to Judy and the other victims of the crime, but at least now they are comfortable knowing that justice has been served. They've got some lengthy sentences in front of these young men, and maybe the message to the community that these young men represent. They are also members of parts of our community that need to get the word that you just can't get off a plane and start just acting crazy because there's vodka available at the store and you've got a machete that doesn't give you license to do anything else.
These guys were born here.
It does sound like they were born here.
So they didn't
talk
just get off the plane. They were born here. They were raised here. They know better.
That is a good point. That they are aware of what's going on, but maybe perhaps all of these years of everybody looking the other way.
At home,
yeah. Oh well, there's the home thing. You want to get into that conversation? I think that requires therapy. We need to have somebody in the studio.
You see the prosecutor saying that he didn't think that these guys could even be
Yeah, I saw that. That was an interesting. The prosecutor was. If you thought Judy's words were harsh, we'll read to you some of the quotes from the prosecution in that case. 7:55 in the morning. There are going to be other cases. Keep your eye on all of those. As I said, Senator Jim Moylan tonight will be up in Dedido at the Dedido Ironwood Estate Centers. He's going to be talking about various bills and issues that he's introduced associated with public safety. An opportunity for the community to express your thoughts on legislation to make recommendations on other means to keep your neighborhood safe. The fun starts at 6 o'clock tonight. Again, it will be at the Ironwood Estates up in Dedido and Community Forum on Public Safety. You need to, whether you live there or not, I suppose you need to be there. But it's not just public safety. I mean, it's not. You think about public safety in terms of there's a crazy guy over there and there's another dude walking up and down the road naked. You got all of these weird things that are going on. But there's other things that the cops have been responding to. There's a story, and I don't know that I've got time to make it through the entire magistrate report, but a story about a guy that comes home and there's a strange vehicle with a strange woman in the car. And all kinds of stories that seem to change from 1 minute to the next, depending on who she was talking to, and who he was talking to. Christine Sablan Tysican was one of the people involved in this incident. And I'll tell you the rest of the story before too much longer. There's a couple of other magistrate reports that are floating around, including one that is absolutely just heinous. And I think I do have time to tell you about this. On January 23rd, cops responded to a child abuse complaint from somebody in Telefofo. Officers then spoke with Vicky Ching, who stated that her daughter, Victoria Rose St. Nicholas, and her daughter's boyfriend, Manuel Aflagui, had abused their minor daughter. So this is a grandmother dropping a dime on her daughter because of abuse to her granddaughter. So we've got that. Ching reported that earlier in the evening, they were at their residence with their 6 minor children. Ching indicated she heard the sound from one of the bedrooms that sounded like somebody being spanked, followed by a child screaming in pain and crying. Ching reported she entered the bedroom but was stopped by the daughter, who informed her that the boyfriend had spanked the minor daughter because she used, this is why kids are getting spanked in this thug house, she used all the shampoo while taking a shower, for which she was beaten. At this time, Ching observed the granddaughter running from the bathroom naked, her body still wet and crying. She told officers that she had been diagnosed. Here's the ultimate sadness in this case. It had been diagnosed, the baby had been diagnosed with leukemia, received treatment off island, and had been in remission since 2018. And the crap lifestyle that she's got to live with her mother and her boyfriend. Additionally, Ching stated that that there were 2 older minor sons. Also confided in her that the boyfriend disciplines the 6 of them in an abusive manner, but they were too scared to tell anybody. After the incident with the granddaughter, Ching stated she decided to call the police and make a report. When she grabbed her phone, the son-in-law of the year grabbed it from her, and she called the police and told her, when she tried to call the police and told her she would kill her, he would kill her if she didn't leave the residence within 30 minutes. Naturally, they left. But they had already made the report. And so now the mother of the year and the stepfather of the year have got probable cause to be charged with child abuse and neglect. And then they went to go and find where these people live. Mm-hmm. Mom and dad were gone. Mom and the stepfather, the boyfriend, were gone and left the kids in a house with no door, trash strewn on the floors, large cockroaches, inoperable toilets, no running water. 3 kids observed sleeping on a dirty mattress on the floor, 1 in a car seat, and 1 in some kind of foldable kids chair. The last one sleeping on the bare floors. Officers secured the premises and discovered no adults in the facility. Nobody's around. So you wonder why we got a crime problem, and so you go back another generation. What's going to happen with these 6 minor kids? What's going to happen? I mean, the nature of the house, the lifestyle that they're leading certainly isn't going to lead them into life of, I don't know, the civilized society. So there's a whole bunch of other people we got to worry about. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. The radio station is KUSG Hagutnya 93.3. This is The Point.
President Trump denies Justice Department interference. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. He's being accused by Democrats of crossing a line after sentencing recommendations were changed for his longtime friend, Roger Stone.
4 federal prosecutors abruptly withdrew from the case yesterday after senior Justice Department officials intervened to recommend a more lenient sentence. That's a decision the president supports.
He was treated very badly. 9 years recommended by 4 people that perhaps they were Mueller people. I don't know who they were, prosecutors.
Questions have been raised by congressional Democrats about whether the Justice Department was bending to White House pressure, but the president says he did not speak to the Attorney General about the case.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. Attorney General William Barr, meantime, now set to testify before a House committee next month. But Democrats are also taking issue with recent removals and reassignments of people who testified against the president in the impeachment probe.
We cannot give him a permanent license to turn the presidency and the executive branch into his own personal vengeance operation.
Ohio Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown argues the president was emboldened by his Senate acquittal. California Senator Dianne Feinstein, ranking Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee, also calling for hearings. 2 members of a fugitive task force recovering from gunshot wounds in Baltimore after trying to serve a warrant on a former official.
Former state corrections official who had been under investigation, who left his job, and who then had a warrant outstanding for attempted murder in Pennsylvania last night.
Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, the suspect, the former corrections official, was killed in today's shootout, which remains under investigation. America is listening to Fox News.
If you own a Toyota, please listen to this. It could help you avoid injury, maybe save your life. The Takata airbags installed in certain Toyotas can explode and shoot out sharp metal fragments at people inside the vehicle. You don't need to be in a collision. They could explode any time. In the U.S., these airbags have caused 26 deaths. There's been a worldwide recall of Takata airbags, and most have had the faulty parts replaced. But here in Guam, there are still over 3,000 Toyotas on the road with potentially lethal airbags, and yours could be one of them. So please, take your Toyota to Atkins Grow, even if you didn't buy it from us, and get the inflator replaced. It costs you nothing. It takes just about an hour, and it could save a life, yours or someone you love. The AK song says we're here for life. That's never been more true.
At Atkins Grow, we're here.
U.S. health officials keeping up their full court press against the spread of the new coronavirus.
Most of the disease is in China. However, we can and should be prepared for this new virus to gain a foothold in the U.S.
The CDC's Dr. Nancy Messonnier, as hundreds of American evacuees from China remain under quarantine and traveler screenings continue at designated U.S. airports. Meantime, a cruise ship detoured by coronavirus fears finally finds a destination.
Cruise operator Holland America Line saying its MS Westerdam ship with more than 2,200 people aboard is heading to Cambodia. It's been sailing around Asia for nearly 2 weeks, having been turned away by Thailand, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines and the US territory of Guam. The ship unwelcome because of fears its passengers or crew could spread the COVID-19 coronavirus. Cambodia's Prime Minister, though, has repeatedly played down any threat.
Fox's Simon Owen. China has more than 45,000 confirmed cases of the virus and over 1,100 deaths. Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick becomes the 3rd Democrat to drop out of the presidential race since yesterday's first primary in New Hampshire.
Patrick was a late entry to the Democratic race, but did not gain any traction in the 2 contests thus far. He did not get any support in Iowa and garnered less than 1% in New Hampshire, which Patrick said in a statement was not enough to create the practical wind at the campaign's back. He is a close friend of former President Barack Obama, but said he never expected Obama to give him an endorsement. Patrick says while his campaign is over, he continues his commitment to help and does not plan to stand on the sidelines as Democrats aim for November. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Big day on Wall Street with a rally to new highs for the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ. The Dow finishing at 29,551. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Here at APL, our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future, whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community. Our dedicated team in Guam and on the U.S. mainland are here to support you. So call 588-4651 or visit www.apl.com.
Imagine this. Your daughter is at the college bookstore and calls you to tell you that her textbooks cost a little more than what she has in her account. But you have a meeting in 10 minutes and you can't escape the office. What do? With Bank of Guam's mobile app and person-to-person feature, you're able to instantly send money between your BOG accounts. Just open the app, transfer her some extra cash, and she'll be ringing up before your meeting even starts. Download the app today. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Hafaday, this is Congressman Michael St. Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael St. Nicholas.
Half a day, it's 8:06. I'm Mona Silva Tyrod with a look at your local news from the Guam Daily Post. 2 men charged in a machete attack in Manila were sentenced in the Superior Court yesterday. 19-year-old Emmanuel Resalop wiped tears from his eyes as he received his 24-year sentence. His 25-year-old brother Jordan Resalop given a 12-year sentence. The two were convicted in connection to a June 2019 machete attack in Manila. Both brothers taking responsibility for their actions and apologized to the victims and to the Chukis and Micronesian communities. The men admitted to being drunk when they got into a fight, stabbed a cousin of theirs, and then went on to attack passing cars with a machete. Assistant Attorney General Sean Brown told the court he wanted Resalop to serve 46 years in prison and Resalop to serve 15 years. He said they went on a rampage and he didn't think rehabilitation was possible. Former Chief of Police and Senator and current UOG professor Judy Guthertz was one of the victims in the incident. She told the court she continues to live in fear and still gets flashbacks. She asked for the maximum sentence. Guthertz told the court, quote, "Whenever serious offenders get a mere slap on the hand, the victims of their actions get a slap in the face." The brothers will appear back in court later this month for a restitution hearing. Meanwhile, a public safety town hall meeting will be held tonight. Senator Jim Moylan continuing his efforts to get feedback from the community on public safety concerns. He will also discuss the numerous bills that he has introduced to address crime. His meeting will be this evening at the Ironwood in Dededo at 6 p.m. The government of Guam's contract with Canton Construction Corp., the company providing maintenance services for the Hagåtña Pool and the Northern Region Sports Complex Pool, ends on May 8th, but the government has the option to renew for an additional year upon the availability of funds. DPR's director, Richard Ibanez, didn't say if that renewal option is going to happen, only that the relationship with the contractor is currently under review. For more than a year, the local swimming community and residents who use the pools have expressed frustration at the poor condition and the repeated closures of the pools. The government signed a contract in May of 2018 for $660,000 with Canton Construction to provide comprehensive facilities operations and maintenance services for the Department of Parks and Recreation pools, according to the government's invitation to bid. The services included the operation and maintenance of all pools, pool pumps, filters, and other mechanical equipment required to maintain safe water quality and operational standards. The Guam Daily Post, through a FOIA request, received a copy of the bid in which Canton Construction agreed it would comply with the scope of the services. The contract also required the vendor to complete a daily documented safety check and comply with public health and EPA standards. The contract also to be certified by the National Swimming Pool Foundation, but it was not certain if that requirement was even met. The FOIA request lacks certain documents, and follow-up questions have yet to be answered by Parks and Rec. In the meantime, the swimming community still up in arms, saying the entire contract with Canton is questionable. Well, Patrick Lujan will stay on board as the State Historic Preservation Office, that from the governor's office, and even despite Linda Uggan going back to work yesterday. Uggan held the position prior to her termination but was reinstated after the Civil Service Commission overturned her firing. The GHPO is a classified position created by law, whereas the SHPO position was created by federal law and is appointed by the governor. A 2010 opinion from the Office of the Attorney General discusses the matter, and according to that opinion, the same individual can act as both the GHPO and the SHPO, provided that the person was appointed to act as a SHPO by the governor. Although this would appear ideal, the two positions may be filled by two different people, according to the opinion. Now, Uggan was fired back in June of last year, accused of retaliating against several staff members, as well as using a government vehicle without authorization. Uggan's office falls under Parks and Recreation, and management could still appeal the matter with courts. However, the judgment calls for Uggan to be reinstated immediately. More news after this.
What does love mean to you? Is it passion, romance, or the feeling you get when making someone happy? Is it loyalty and commitment, or being completely vulnerable? Is love the feeling they sing about in songs or make movies about? Or is it just being with that one person who makes you feel safe? This Valentine's Day, celebrate the many ways to love with an exquisite 3-course dining experience perfectly crafted by Mezcla Bistro. From start to finish, you'll enjoy every bite and every moment with the person you love. Mezcla, a true taste of love.
The Office of the Attorney General is close to completing its criminal investigation into the viral video that shows a Guam police officer at Ipoh Beach appearing to punch an arrestee in the stomach as he was handcuffed and escorted into a patrol car. Guam police have identified the officer in the video as Joey I. Uggan. The AG told the Guam Daily Post that the investigation into the matter is expected to conclude soon. The incident also led to an internal affairs investigation by GPD and a civil rights investigation with the FBI. It's unclear if the FBI has completed its investigation. On Wednesday, Police Chief Steve Ignacio issued a press release stating that he stands firm that his officers must remain above reproach in the performance of their duties. He said the IA investigation isn't over and assured the community that they will always ensure the rights of the citizens will be protected. The Department of Administration has prepared an additional 285 checks for adjudicated war claims this week. Those checks will be issued to claimants who have been verified by the Department of Treasury and approved for payout under the local program. The recipients were called yesterday, and the checks will be distributed at the War Claims Processing Center today and tomorrow. Checks that aren't picked up, those will be mailed. Now, this will be the last of the checks that will be issued from the War Claims Center, as that office is set to close on Friday at 4 p.m. War Claims Processing will continue at Adelup next week, Wednesdays, on weekdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here's Ray with your weather.
Got to wait until Tony and Auntie Lou get back from Washington, D.C. Apparently, there's testimony being provided by them and ongoing meetings to talk about President Donald Trump's attempt to remove $4 million from the Department of Interior's Compact Impact Aid Fund that comes to Guam and Hawaii. So you can imagine that the officials from Guam and Hawaii are doing everything they can to make sure that those funds remain. High surf advisory in effect through Sunday night along east-facing reefs. High surf advisory in effect through Friday night along north-facing reefs, and there's a high risk of rip currents through the weekend. So be careful if you're going to be doing anything more at the beach than watching the sunset, which, by the way, is tonight at 6:25. For today, partly cloudy skies, breezy, isolated light showers. My God, it must be 75 degrees out there. Northeast winds blowing up to 25 miles an hour, possibly gusting to around 35 miles an hour. Daytime highs today, 86 degrees, partly cloudy and breezy. Some isolated showers tonight. Winds milder, about 25 miles an hour, with no major gusts, and overnight lows of about 74 degrees. But I guarantee, the National Weather Service says 74, but I guarantee your car is probably reporting much lower temperatures than that. Maybe 73, maybe as low as 72 on a car dashboard. Do me a favor, if you've got like a really ridiculously low number on your dashboard thermometer, I'd love to see that. Take a picture of it and zap it over to us at 988-5874. That's 988-5874. That's the WhatsApp here at the radio station. That's news and weather together on the radio station.
Hafa Day. This is Alicia Blas from Security Title with a gentle reminder that your first installment of property taxes is due February 20. You might not know, but if you purchase property after March 4, 2019, you most likely will not receive a tax bill in the mail, but you still owe the tax. To make payment, take a copy of your deed to Revenue Tax in Barragata and ask for the tax bill. When it comes to your family land, call the professionals at Security Title. We are here to help.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
Yes. Yes, I want to go eat over at Denny's today because, yes, they have oxtail soup because, yes, it's Thursday, day before Friday. That's easy to remember. And tomorrow, in case you're not in oxtail soup mode today, swing by tomorrow because the lunch special soup is going to be pork sinigang, all orders served with rice because that's the best way to eat soup is to put the rice in the soup, and then you've got something extra going on. Anyway, 8:15, that's the big deal over at Denny's. Portions of the program also brought to you by American President Line's global presence with a local home and the team over at Take Care Insurance, offering proven and wellness and fitness programs to encourage you and your family to live a healthy, balanced lifestyle. Preventative care, staying active, eating right, relaxing and unwinding, and being socially connected. Great plans available for you over at Take Care.
The Coconut Wireless is back. The Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Okay. It's been a long time since I looked over at the Facebook Live to see who else has chimed in this morning. I got Scott Nelson there. Commissioner Roy Gamboa has tuned in. So is Debbie Canat. Debbie just all up in arms about that last story I read around the top of the hour where we've got these dim-witted parents or parental units basically beating their kids and making them live in squalor. Child abuse has all kinds of different faces, and that's just one of them. Bill Cruz saying, Havare, all the government employees dropped out of the show when government Guam corruption topic came up. Did you see that? Did you see the drop-off, right? It got Cousin Troy talking about corruption in the government of Guam, and all of a sudden we get, the numbers dropped off a little bit. I didn't see what's on Spotify. I got another podcast I got to listen to. I probably shouldn't be on this channel right now.
They just switched to the YouTube channel, so you can't see them anymore.
Lisa San Augustine is online, and so is, hold on a second, I got to get close to the thing, Kevin Canat, that's my personal painter. Galo Perez, Deanna Palmer is online. Pam Duvall and Chris Abalencia. Rick Tenorio saying, good morning, The Point. And then we got he's got all kinds of great comments. So if you're looking for something interesting to read while I try to talk interesting topics, definitely follow this guy around. Bill Pettit is there, our running pal, Yuka Echanova, and Johnny Rosario from over at Candid. Rick Tenorio, who is referring to it now as COVID-19. I think I'm too invested in coronavirus. I think we're too invested in novel coronavirus.
You like the novel.
I like to pronounce it novel coronavirus. Is it possible that maybe somebody from the Corona Brewing Company, literally, seriously now, is it possible that somebody from there got to the Fed and some people over at the CDC and said, could you please call it something else? I wonder what has happened to sales of Corona.
Surprisingly, they probably went up. Because all my friends started drinking it.
You would think, yeah. Hair of the dog. Maybe this is going to prevent us from getting it. I don't know. I got my friend Karen Otiwi is online. Big Sister Shelley has chimed in this morning. Gary Shawnols is there. Sandra De Leon Guerrero is online saying, we are getting snow right now, then freezes down to 9 degrees. Oh, so sweater weather there, too. That's good. I like that. Where exactly are you there, Sandra? Let me know about that. Are you in Texas or someplace? She probably mentioned it a couple of days ago, and I just forgot. Kenny Williams is online, and Kelly, he's got the emoji with the cool guy sunglasses on, because Kenny's a cool guy, as a matter of fact. 8:19 in the morning. It's the Ray Gibson Show. And normally I spend a little bit of time pretending to talk about sports. But the only thing I got to pretend to talk about sports is a couple of races that I'm interested in. One of them is one of the big must-attend races. It's the EFIT 5K, 2K. This will be taking place at the Chamorro Village from 4:30 to 7:30 in the morning on the, what day is this? March 14th. So if you're looking for an opportunity to do some fast racing, this is going to be, and like I said, one of the must-attends. It's a Chamorro Village race, so it's not the old course. So it's basically going to be an out and back, which you will of course survive.
Which way does it go? Up toward Tamuning or down toward Adelup?
I don't know. I would hope that it goes up up to Tamuning and then back down to Adelube. Well, it's not so much the flat, it's the headwind. so you want to run out. It's the headwind. Yeah, you want to run out towards and knock that out of the way. And maybe draft behind Ryan Matenzo or Derek Mendel or something like that, because everybody's as fast as they are. So draft behind these guys, and then you hit the turnaround, and then you've got the wind at your back as you race back towards the Chamorro Village. Now, there is one that people refer to as a mostly downhill course. It's not. There's a couple of rollers before you get out of Jigo and close to the Micronesia Mall, plus there's about 2.5 miles worth of spur that will take you into Two Lovers Point. You will hate every second of that spur. Every single solitary second of that spur, you'll be cursing the gods of running. It's the Guam Running Club's 47th running of the annual Hoffa Marathon. It'll take place Saturday morning from Anderson Air Force Base. It will end up at Epal Beach Park. So the downhill portion comes after the Micronesia Mall. After you've done the spur, you're passing the mall, and then everything gonna be okay from there. But it's the last mile and a half of the race. So whatever you've lost on the spur, whatever part of the soul has been sucked out of you, you're going to have to find the inspiration to do that. Now, I understand there's pre-registration that has to take place, and I understand that today is the deadline for pre-registration for the race. And you might be able to sign up that morning, but you may have to incur the wrath of somebody looking at you like, didn't you get the instructions about pre-registration? Yeah, we'll let you in. We'll take your money, but next time, pre-register. The usual spots, whatever. Go to the Guam Running Club's Facebook page. It's a very, very well-maintained Facebook page, and find out what the heck is going to be going on. 8:21. Now, today might as well be Valentine's Day. I'll tell you that. Might as well be Valentine's Day. They've got.
Look at us. We're wearing red. You're not, Joe.
Oh. I didn't even think of that. But here's the thing. Tonight, Language of Love at the museum.
And across the street, too, is the jazz guy.
That's right. Jazz on the Seventh Day. Daryl Taggarty's got his Jazz on the Seventh Day on the road. He will be serenading lovers from the kiosco at the Plaza de España in Agana. There'll be romantic, classic, acoustic jazz tunes from his annual feature, the Valentine's Day warm-up show. There's no admission because it's the park. What, is somebody going to tell you to get out of there? Probably not. So there are all kinds of other stuff going on Thursday night in town. So we got the museum that's going to be cranking. Plaza de España is going to be at work. Skinner Plaza will be cranking because it's food truck night. So yeah. So lot going on in the downtown Hagatna area. And my suggestion is that you go and try to take advantage of every single solitary thing that's going to be taking place. 8:22 in the morning. 888-8255 is the telephone number here at the radio station. Now, Valentine's is coming up tomorrow. The official Valentine's celebration. If you are smart enough to get your, what's the word I'm looking for, reservations in. Number one, congratulations, guys. New piece of research out there says that 1 in 4 women say they wish their man had better table manners. 1 in 4 women. The assumption is that 3 of the 4 women are okay with their man's table habits. But 1 in 4 wish you would do it better. Now, I'm not here to tell you to be Mary Post and tell you what you're supposed to be doing when you're in a fancy restaurant where you look down at the menu instead of up. There is that distinction. So you're in the fancy restaurant. You might want to YouTube today. Because some of you, this might be your first time. It might be your first time hearing this, right? Where you go, what exactly are table manners? Right? What are some of the worst things that you can do at the table?
Worst things
I'm
I
asking
could
you.
do?
No, I'm asking you.
Worst thing
it doesn't have to be about my now Phil.
I think chewing with the mouth open is a thing for me. I can't stand
hate it.
Yeah, and when I hear, I don't know why, it's just my ear picks up the smacking, and it drives me insane. Unless you're a child. Children can chew with their mouth.
Yeah, but I think anything over the age of about 12.
Yeah.
I think anybody over the age of 12 has to learn to chew with your mouth closed. But it will amaze you the next time that you're at a function where there's all kinds of people, so-called civilized people. Just look across the table at some of these so-called civilized people, and they chewing with their mouth open. They got food coming out, and all of that. So be on the lookout. Not everybody has done the same thing. I don't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. And
the Finideni bowl is not for
community.
No, you get your own Tootsie Bowl, and you put your own. So I have Tootsie Bowls at home.
Totally guilty. I will fess up to it. I'm totally guilty about that.
We got the Tootsie Bowls for you. For when you come over.
Yeah, because I'm the guy. I'll take a I'll dip my lumpia in the thing, and then I'll take a bite of it, and then I'll dip it back into the
you see this
community
huge
bowl.
Oil buildup.
It's oil in my saliva.
Yeah.
It's oil in Ray AIDS. That's what's there. So what about you, Real Joe? I mean, there's got to be things that you're out there, you're eating, you're having a good time with somebody, and you look across the table and go, "Oh my God, this guy was raised on a farm." Have
Well, I've had people dip in my Finadeni as well.
What's that?
Dip in my Finadeni.
Oh, say you don't like that either.
I don't like it. I don't want. I've had even my brother picking off my plate, and I'm like, dude, don't do that.
Teeth sucking and smacking.
Is that Shelley?
Shelley was talking about teeth sucking, and she's absolutely right.
I could identify my sister in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I got a cavity. A filling popped out of a cavity, and it's not one of these major fillings out of it, and it's not even a major cavity, and I can still eat. But now there's a little hole in there, and it catches food. So I find myself doing that from time to time.
You know what I do that drives me nuts is I can't stand things stuck in my teeth, and if I don't have a toothpick or floss, I'll find anything, roll it up into a point, and
that's what you do,
pull it out
right?
with anything. And so she's like, you could tear your paper plate apart and start picking your tooth.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Nick Perlowski, when I was commissioned, I had to take a course in etiquette. Us old Navy chiefs would belch, pick at our teeth, and all sorts of stuff deemed inappropriate for the wardroom. And so even in the military, there's an etiquette course that needs to be done. Dennis Bensour asking, Ray's a double dipper? Ray is an absolute and unabashed and unashamed
quadruple dipper.
Double ditcher. Rick Tenorio says loose dentures clacking is also something else that's going to be out there. One thing I will say on the subject, and I don't know that it's etiquette or just manners, but if this is an important Valentine's to you, maybe it's somebody that you want to spend a lot of time with. One of the things that I observe in my interactions, dates, whatever, and I guarantee that the ladies, if they've got any class or civilized at all, will be looking out for, is watch how your date treats the waitstaff.
Yes.
That's
so important.
Nothing annoys me more than, especially if somebody's sitting at my table and they start giving crap to the waiter or waitress.
Yeah.
I hate that. I try to be. I'm not the biggest tipper in the whole wide world. And I recognize that's kind of a gap in my upbringing because I forget. And the assumption is, well, there's already 10%, so I'll just lay in another 5. But and more on that in a minute. But watch people how they treat the wait staff, right? Because that is a great indication of who they are, especially if they treat the waitstaff like crap, and then they come back to you and it's all lovey-dovey, and we're all happy family and all of that stuff. But in my mind, that's just schizophrenic and it's wrong. And the other thing that I worry about is they're going to tick off the waitstaff, and everybo's going to have pubic hair and spit in their food.
The special sauce?
Yeah, the special sauce. You watched that movie, right?
Yes.
There's what's his name? He's got that show and
the guy from Deadpool, right? Or
yes, yeah. Don't eat off my plate. Your fork's on my plate. Take the whole thing. I'm all done. That's it. So watch out for it. Just a little primer here, guys. You might want to go and do a YouTube thing on dining etiquette and things like that, or just pay attention to what we've already been talking about. It's one of those things, guys. It's an easy lesson to learn, and 1 in 4 women say they want you to have better table manners. 8:28 in the morning, and a bunch of other stuff. I suppose there could be some stuff on a table of contents that might be worth yakking about. Oh, goodies here. We're gonna have to make you wait for headlines. Is that okay? What?
Okay.
What?
It's a bigger name.
It's a bigger name on line 1.
Who's bigger?
The governor's chief of staff.
Oh, okay.
And this is because I don't want to make him.
No, he's a bigger name. He's calling long distance.
And no, it's not that. I don't want to make him wait for a long time because he's done with meetings, and this phone call is the only thing that is keeping him from happy hour on K Street. Good morning.
I understand.
Good afternoon, Chief of Staff Tony Babauta. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Ray. And who's your guest? Oh, it's
yeah, I'm not a guest. I'm furniture here.
Yeah, she works in, bro.
How you doing, Mala? Good morning.
I'm doing great.
We're just talking about better manners and better table etiquette for Valentine's weekend here. There's all kinds of people going on big important dates.
Treat the wait staff well. You got to treat the wait staff well.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. So Tony Babauta online, and there's a story about Trump wanting to cut $4 million in compact aid for the government of Guam, and likewise, I'm sure all kinds of other discretionary compact assistance to Guam, Saipan, and Hawaii. My understanding is that there are committee-level meetings that are taking place right now. Can you debrief me on where this story comes from and how you and the governor leapt into action to deal with it?
Well, I mean, the budget was just, I guess, revealed just the other day, so we didn't have the opportunity to fully go through it.
Yeah.
And so it was pointed out that part of the budget, there was $4 million in discretionary funding that I think has been there in years past. I'd have to go back and check the record of how it was treated in previous years under the Trump administration, but we know that there's always an effort by the Natural Resources Committee, because they are attuned and sensitive to the needs of the territories, and especially Guam, to kind of put that back in during the process of approving the budget.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't recall what it has been in the past. Certainly, is always something to be concerned about, because it causes us and kind of puts us into action to make sure that we're fighting for to restore that level of funding. We would hope that that Mr. San Nicolas will do his part also as an authorizer to Interior's budget to fight for that as well. And it's a process that you have to kind of go through. I understand just on the federal budget process side, because I've been a part of it in years past, that there's a tremendous amount of pressure within departments across the board to meet what OMB would have OMB's expectations of submitting your department's budget, and that kind of trickles down to the different bureaus and offices. And so I know that when I was in office, I think we were mandated to submit a budget that was 7% lower than the year prior, and you try to do that with the least amount of harm as possible.
Well, when we're talking about $4 million that is supposed to be additional dollars to the lousy recompense that we're already getting for compact migrants and the impact here on Guam, when they're talking about removing that, that feels like a slap in the face. And I think that was a point that was made by Ed Case from Hawaii. Sure. Says, I don't understand that there seems to be some level of actual animus somewhere in this administration to federal funding for our territories. He said to the panel of insular representatives from Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands, and the Commonwealth of Northern Marianas, I don't know whether any of you have any explanation for it. Is there some miscommunication between our territories and the federal government? Is there a lack of efficacy inside the administration when it comes to dealing with us fairly? So I thought maybe I'd get your thoughts on that comment as well.
I mean, I respect, Mr. Case's perspective. He's a long-standing member of Congress. He just recently returned back to Congress. Mm-hmm. I think he kind of threw that out as rhetorical to, for members of the administration to answer to. It seems like directed at them. They would have to go out there and defend their budget. But unfortunately, and I think certain members of the committee expressed that they were disappointed that the Trump administration didn't send someone to defend and speak for the Office of Insular Affairs budget.
Yeah.
The only ones that appeared before the committee were the governors of the various territories.
Well, would hope that there'd be a little bit more action on it. My understanding from reading an article in the Daily News, the Governor Leon Guerrero testified at the hearing and has asked the federal government to pursue three issues. One of them is full reimbursement of our cost for hosting regional migrants, providing more support for the freely associated states in those communities so that they can provide better opportunities. So the big deal is not get old enough, scrounge up enough money, and get in an airplane and find your way to Guam. That can't be the answer for everybody that lives in those communities. And implementing a federal screening program to ensure that those who migrate to the United States are capable of complying with the provisions of the compact. That I know of, there is no screening whatsoever.
Yeah, no, there's no screening whatsoever, and I think it's fairly clear in the compact that that activity does rest with Homeland Security, although they haven't seemed to prioritize it within their own operations. Each time that the governor has met with officials of Homeland Security, she has mentioned this lack of a screening process and how she believes it will be beneficial just in terms of keeping with the terms of the compact and the intent and both the spirit and the intent of the free migration provisions. We think that would be helpful, moving forward, and we would hope that if they can't do that prior to the renegotiated compact, that's somehow reiterated or strengthened or mandated during the upcoming renegotiations. In addition, you pointed out that she's asking for 100% reimbursement this time, for the costs associated with compact migration. We also put in there that if that can't be achieved, then the federal government should define what an offset is, because the current compact language does not contain reimbursement language. It says that the federal government will offset the cost, and of course that's a percentage. When it comes to Guam, our current expenditure is $150 million. By and large, right, on an annual basis, the amount of money we get for compact impact is $15 million, so we're at 10%. And that's kind of unreasonable. We don't think that the Congress passed that sort of language with the intent that only 10% of costs would be reimbursed to our jurisdiction. We think the more reasonable level of an offset is, anywhere between 35 to 75. I think we put in 75%.
No, I think 100. I think 100 is pretty. Ton, I think 100 is pretty good.
Well, 100% is full reimbursement. Yeah. You're just talking about offset. I mean, offset our cost by 75%. There's certainly precedent for that. The House, as you know, just currently passed a Puerto Rico emergency supplemental that included language from HR 3300, the Economic Mobility Act, which would reimburse, which would offset and then reimburse the cost of Guam
EITC.
Guam providing earned income tax credit by 75%. So that's certainly a benchmark that we would not balk at if that was language that was included. In the compact,
but unfortunately, as you and I both know, that's doomed. If it makes it out of the Senate and goes all the way to the White House, we've already got language from the White House that says they're ferocious about that bill. They don't like it. They feel like the administration has been burned a couple of times by Puerto Rico. So just on the aid side, we're not likely to see that happen. But as pointed out, the language has passed, and maybe that can be part of another moving piece of legislation down the road. We were talking about the compact renegotiations. Case says that they are going to take a greater interest in compact renegotiation. Quote, we're not willing to just roll over and accept and ratify another set of compacts unless there is a substantial increase in compact funding. This sounds like something that we all got to get together and unified voice to make sure that the needs of the impacted communities are met at 70 to 100%, and that there is actual screening that goes on to prevent people that are going to be burdens on the communities from even getting on the airplanes.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, we started that from the beginning of the administration. Governor Leon Guerrero began talking to Governor Ige about having a unified front when it comes to at that point, it was, any compact that's going to be renegotiated. We feel that the stronger pitch is, or a strong pitch is to try to have our issues addressed at the front end while the negotiator is being given instructions in terms of how they're going to go out and negotiate with the freely associated states. We think the issues are hefty enough and have a historical record of having concern not only in the affected jurisdiction but by Congress itself. So don't wait until the back end, until the negotiations are done. You know what our problems are. You know what our concerns are. Let's see if we can't work a solution in the front end and make sure that it's part of the package.
There's a couple of other stories, and a couple of them having to do with the military. I'm being asked on Facebook Live to inquire as to anything that might be going on over with the Guard here. It says, "Hey Tony, wait a second, I gotta cue the thing up on the Facebook so I can read it. Hey, Tony, how come why no action by governor's office on that mess at the Guard? Lots of disillusioned troops by lack of corrective action after the CNGB visit. Are there other investigations? Are there other conversations that are taking place between the governor's office and Guard leadership?
If they're talking about the visit by General Lengel, that was a courtesy call because he was in the area. There was no, to my knowledge, any conversation about any investigations that occurred between them. They talked about the stature of our Guam National Guard, where they hold rank within the nation. I think they're one of the top 5 Guard units in the nation, and he expressed his gratitude to the governor, the commander-in-chief, for the many tasks and responsibilities and duties that they carry on throughout the world in different deployments, protecting and advancing democracy.
I'm not sure that was all the conversation. Joe Bloss over at the Guard confirmed that there were investigations going on.
She did an interview with KUAM, Chris Barnett, and she confirmed to him that there was more to the conversation, and it had to do with an apparent investigation into IG complaints that were taken all the way up to the National Guard Bureau.
Well, I was outside the room when Governor Lengel came to visit, when General Lengel came to visit Governor Leon Guerrero. It was him and one of his staff, and the governor and one of her staff. And I didn't, Joe Bloss wasn't in the room, so I'm not sure that she can speak to their conversations.
Does the governor maintain her level of satisfaction with leadership at the Guard?
She maintains her satisfaction of the Guard. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Leadership.
Tony, away from the top of the hour, one last question for you. It has to do with an international nature, and I'm wondering how this is going to impact Guam. My understanding is that it sounds like Duterte is on the warpath against President Trump over the withdrawal of traveling authorization for one of his guys, and is now moving towards basically eliminating the relationship, the military relationship between the country, the Philippines, and the United States of America. Is that something that you're watching at the senior level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was concerning when we read the news, and earlier today we did meet with the Assistant Secretary of State for Bureau of East Asian and Pacific Affairs, as well as the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Mr. Norquist. We raised the issue, and both leaders from the different departments said that it's obviously on their radar. It's brand new. We all woke up to it this morning, and I think they're still trying to.
Yeah, because it looks like he's pulled the plug from what I'm reading. It looks like he was threatening it earlier in the week, and it looks like he's actually pulled the plug on this and basically says a decision has been made and it's final. The president will not entertain any initiative coming from the U.S. government to salvage the VFA. Neither will he accept any official invitation to visit the United States. Concerning it, a lot of different levels. Number one is the defense of the defense of this chain that we're in, and the first chain that they seem to be having differences with China over. I don't know that the Philippines is going to be able to completely defend themselves from a growingly aggressive China in that part of the world. Then we've got other treaties that we'd like to explore, like Governor Gutierrez's Guam-only visa waiver for Filipinos to be able to come to Guam.
Yeah, certainly that puts a dent in a lot of the efforts that that we've been embarking on to try to have greater relations, with the Philippines and closer proximity and visitation with the Philippines. It also presents a point of instability in the region, a big question mark right there. With the Philippines as our neighbor. I can only tell you that we're aware that the higher ups over here at pay grades above everyone else are trying to work this issue on behalf of the United States. I'm uncertain how it's going to turn out, but it's certainly a point of concern for everyone.
Absolutely. At a lot of different levels, for a lot of different reasons. 8:43 in the morning. Listen, I appreciate your time here, and you are now released. You may now enjoy a happy hour in K Street somewhere.
I'm off to my next meeting. Thanks, Ray.
All right,
appreciate it.
Talk to you pretty soon. Governor's Chief of Staff Tony Babauta off to the next meeting out in Washington, D.C. You're going to go into meetings armed with the information that we now have, that there is active participation with the governor and the governor's chief of staff in conversations about compact impact aid, discretionary funding that generally comes through the Department of Interior to Guam. President Trump in his budget signaling a hesitation to give them another $4 million, and that could be problematic for us for some of the programs that we have that rely on those dollars. Other concern that I wanted to talk about it yesterday, but I really didn't care, is he wants to pull funding for the public television. Corporation for Public Broadcasting. He wants to pull virtually all of it, give them enough money in the next 2 years for them to be able to wind down and eliminate the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Interesting to hear the howls and the screams from the people in the NPR and the Channel 12 KGTF community on the possibility that there could be even less funds coming in from the national side. 8:44 in the morning. Do I have to? I'm going to take a break. You want me to break before I go to news? Okay, break, and then Montesilva with her last look at news.
Chili's 2 for $25 is back. Start with an appetizer to share. Then choose 2 entrees like our mouth-watering old-timer with cheeseburger or the Cajun chicken pasta, grilled chicken with penne and Alfredo sauce, and chili spices. Feeling extra? Upgrade to a personal fajita or our famous half-rack ribs. Bring a friend or a date to Chili's and get 2 entrees for $25. Located on the 2nd floor of Tumon Sands Plaza. Chili's. More life happens here.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
A homeowner's policy protects much more than just your house. It also protects you against claims from someone being hurt on your property. If a visitor is injured at your place, how much are you covered for? The smart thing to do is get the answer today.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
Well, that is interesting. And before you hit the button, because I did want to mention a couple of the comments that came in immediately after asking Tony questions about the governor of Guam, and any actions that might be being investigated with the Guard and leadership over at the Guard, and the responses from people that were watching on the program weren't great. It says what a top 5 in recruiting been happening for many years. A historical track record doesn't show true health of the organization overall. Sungi Guam writes, in other words, Antelope doesn't have a clue and they won't do anything. I'm being urged to get Lieutenant Governor Josh on the line and ask for his views on the Guard issue. And the question that I have is, am I going to get a different answer? Why make a phone call to somebody that's going to give me the same talking points that I just got?
It makes you wonder, there's enough outcry from that group of individuals or from the Guard itself, and we don't know how many people are behind it. Mm-hmm. But there's enough of an outcry that, it warrants some attention. Have a conversation. Have a town hall meeting. Call everybody to the group.
And they did that when the guys over at the Department of Corrections started sending out the anonymous letters.
And it makes you wonder why they won't even entertain it for a conversation. And so, there's a town hall meeting tonight on public safety. Maybe go there and let Jim Moylan hear it and see what he can do. And that seems to be drumming up enough noise throughout the community, so maybe let that be your forum.
Harder for Adelup to ignore. And I appreciate the urging on the fishing trip here, but like I said, I don't know if I'm going to get a different answer, and whether or not it's going to make any kind of difference at all to the now authors of 3 anonymous letters that have gone out of the Guard towards Adelup and others to investigate what's going on at the higher levels of the Guard. There has been a 4th anonymous letter, this one in support of current leadership over at the Guard. And maybe that's the letter that got everybody over at the governor's office saying, well, it's nothing to it. There's, we've got smoke but no fire. Plenty of heat but no light. 8:47 in the morning, and now we can play the music for the late headline news. With news now from the Guam Daily Post, here's Montesilva Tyron.
A public safety town hall meeting will be held tonight. Senator Jim Moylan continuing his efforts to get feedback from the community on public safety concerns. He'll also discuss a number of his bills that were introduced to address crime on island. His meeting this evening will be in Ironwood in Dededo at 6 p.m. 285 war claims checks will be issued today and tomorrow for those adjudicated war claims. They'll be the last of the checks to be issued at the War Claims Processing Center. The office closes tomorrow at 4, after which the war claim processing will all take place at Adelup. And the coronavirus test kits, those are going to arrive on Guam in the next couple of weeks. That means testing can be done locally rather than sending specimens off island. Public Health confirms their lab equipment is calibrated and ready for testing once those test kits come in. And those are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, pick up a copy of the paper. Log on to the website at postguam.com.
I got you. Now, you made a reference to a story on KUAM. I've got it called up. Guard Bureau investigating. Agagi, Adjutant General Esther Agagi, is under investigation as the National Guard Bureau looks into complaints filed against her by soldiers under her command. But the Guard said complaints come with the territory. National Guard spokesperson Major Joe Bloss told KUAM National Guard Bureau leadership's visit to Guam wasn't all positive. Major Bloss said 2 generals met with the governor at Adelup last week to brief our Magahaga on several investigations into Agagi. He just wanted to let her know that there's a lot of investigations going on, she said. You know, by the nature of the Adjutant General, sometimes when people are unhappy, they're going to file complaints. Guard Bureau head Jennifer Joseph Lengyel and the Guard Bureau's top lawyer Jennifer Chris Rofrano were on island briefly last week, with Major Bloss saying complaints about Agagi were sent stateside. So obviously there is something going on. Adelup seems to be mum about it, or claiming ignorance.
Yeah, and then again, the reason why these individuals are going anonymous, according to their letters, is out of fear of retribution. They're afraid they're going to be moved or given some sort of administrative discipline because of, challenging their administration.
How dare you stand up? How dare you stand up to the boss? There's consequences for that, and the consequences in the government of Guam, consequences in the Guard, consequences generally everywhere. 10 away from the top of the hour. That's all the time we've got for news and headlines from Monte Silva Tyrant. Come back tomorrow, and I'll keep you overtime as well. Where are we? Is it iConnect time? Yes, it is. Go to the nearest iConnect, and for you, the nearest iConnect might be over at the Micronesia Mall, where they have got all kinds of great gizmos and gadgets lined up for your digital lifestyle. Don't have a digital lifestyle? Well, maybe this is the year that you upgrade from the iPhone 1 to the iPhone 11, the Pro Max, which is awesome. It's got the 3 cameras in it. And even if you don't get that one, maybe you just want accessories for the one that you got. Maybe you need a charger because of battery life or whatever. And in my mind, the greatest miracle is the wireless chargers that they've got a whole plethora of over there. And it gives you the opportunity to take your phone when it's just about to die, place it on something, and then it's charged. How do they do that? What kind of magic is that? Find out at iConnect at the Micronesia Mall.
GRMC's Neuroscience and Neurology Department treats a wide spectrum of disorders associated with the nervous system, spine, and brain. Some of the more common disorders include seizures, epilepsy, dementia, sleep disorders, migraine, and stroke, which is one of the leading causes of death on Guam. GRMC's neuroscience team is equipped with the latest technology and the finest neurological doctors. To make an appointment, contact GRMC Specialty Clinics at 645-5500.
Oh, I know how we can find out. Rick writing on Facebook Live, he says, it's alleged that it was directed that Major Joe Bloss was to no longer talk to the media after that interview. I know how to find out. Do me a favor, Real Joe. See if you can get her on the line to talk about it. And another piece of good news. This is Good News Thursday, the day before Valentine's, and we got all kinds of Valentine's stuff going to be happening tonight. Are you ready for the good news? That dose of good news. You're still here. The dose of good news is Yoichi's trash has been picked up.
Oh, great.
We can all sleep. I was up all night last night.
Glad to know that we had a hand in that.
I'm happy to inform you that my trash was just picked up a few minutes ago. There is a lady at the Solid Waste Customer Service Office by the name of Ms. Bree who has been helpful.
She's great.
And I want to thank her. So some problems with communications yesterday prevented that from happening in real time. But she got somebody lickety-split this morning, and now Yoichi's trash has been picked up. 8:52 in the morning. Yep. That's what we got to do. What am I supposed to be? Is this Wendy's? Oh, Cold Stone. They're the same company. All right, that's fine. Cold Stone, the ultimate ice cream experience. I can almost do this off the top of my head because I love the way they put these things together. Every holiday has got a Cold Stone theme, and Valentine's about the same. We've got, for Valentine's, you can try out the Fudge Truffle Decadence Ice Cream Cake, or try out the all-new Cookie Butter You Up Cake, made with layers of moist yellow cake and cookie butter ice cream mixed with graham cracker pie crust. And then they decorate it with love. See, that's why he told me to do the Cold Stone, so he didn't have to guess whether I was going to do Decorated with Love. Visit the mall or GPO location, give them a call, or order online at ordercoldstone.com for the ultimate Valentine's ice cream experience.
The University of Guam Endowment Foundation presents How to Say I Love You, Love Languages in the Pacific. Join us on February 13th at the Guam Museum from 6 to 9 p.m. and enjoy a night of live entertainment and cultural delicacies, all while exploring the many ways we celebrate love in the region. Tickets are $60 per person and include free-flowing drinks. Proceeds will benefit the liberal arts and fine arts programs. Visit give.uog.edu and click shop to get your tickets today. Sponsored by the Guam Daily Post, Matson Navigation, and Choice Broadcasting.
It's time for the traffic gizmo, and it's already late in the morning. Listen, if you're not where you're supposed to be by now, there's no advice that I can give you that will help. Traffic gizmo reporting mostly intersection traffic at the usual spots, over by the airport, Marine Corps Drive at the ITC building, 8, 10, 16, 10, and 15, and places like that. Shouldn't be slowing you down too much, but just anticipate that there are going to be excuses for stopping you at the red lights. 8:54, that's right now traffic. This is the point.
Denny's is making lunchtime a little more special. Every Monday through Friday, they serve a variety of local favorite soups, such as chicken adobo on Mondays, oxtail soup on Tuesdays and Thursdays, chicken tinola on Wednesdays, and pork synagogue on Fridays, while supplies last. All orders are served with rice. Senior citizens get a special menu, which includes a free soup or salad. Make Denny's your new lunch spot, located in Tamuning and the Micronesia Mall.
8:55 in the morning, and Dennis asking, hey, Ray, did you remember to check the ice cream I bought? Was it still there, or did it get eaten? What's that, Joe?
It is there, sir.
It is there. Okay.
I didn't touch it either.
I'm glad that you're guarding that. That's important. Anyway, not a whole lot of time this hour for this next topic. Mayor Melissa Savars with a quick call about abandoned junk cars that we've got on the roads. A nice picture of one on the front page of the PDN, and people wondering, wait a second, we've got abandoned vehicle fees, recycling, revolving funds, all of that stuff. How is it possible we can't go get these cars picked up in real time? And I guess there's a process for all of that, right, Melissa?
Yeah, the process is it gets collected at Rev and Tax. The money is deposited into an EPA account, and then EPA, that's the recycling revolving account, and then EPA then divvies it up to the proper either agencies, vendors for the process of recycling these goods, tires, loose metal, junk cars.
That's a lot of moving parts. Can't we just designate somebody to be in charge of it, so that way when there's an abandoned vehicle up in Marine Corps Drive in Dededo right in front of your office, that you can just make a call to somebody and they'll pick it up, and then they will get paid out by this fund administered by the EPA, as opposed to...
I wish it was that easy, because you know what? Even with EPA transferring it to us, I said, that's another process to go to the mayor's council, and then for the mayor's council to divvy out the purchase orders, right? So I said, can't EPA just give it to the vendors, say, okay, this is how much we're giving you, and there's, they are the ones that permit the vendors, so they know who they are, right?
Because it feels like we've got to stockpile the money, and then it is doled out to everybody, and by then we've got a stockpile of loose trash, we've got a stockpile of tires, we got a stockpile of abandoned vehicles in the village. There ought to be a better real-time solution to all of this.
I agree, Ray. As soon as the fiscal year ends, we wrap up all that. All those invoices go into EPA. They clear the vendors. And then, because by the time the new fiscal year comes in, and actually it doesn't even go by the fiscal year because, that money's always coming in, right?
Yeah, because people are registering their cars all the time.
The vehicles every month.
Yeah.
Right? So we don't have, it's not an appropriation. It's actually direct money coming from Rev and Tax going into the recycling revolving fund. So, we shouldn't have to wait till the fiscal year.
Agree.
But of course, closing out is important. especially at the end of the fiscal year this past year, you know, we had dengue in September. And so the cleanups that were done because of dengue with the tires and the cars was just overwhelming. And so, of course, it used up whatever money we had at the Mayor's Council.
Yeah. So there's a better way to do this, I think, where we can get somebody, you know, make a connection between an abandoned vehicle, for example, and getting it picked up and sent to an impound lot or wherever it is that these things are going to end up going. I think there's also more that needs to get done by finding the original owners of these vehicles and having them have some responsibility and accountability to the vehicles that get abandoned.
I agree, Ray. And most of the time, I mean, we try to to locate the VIN number, but parts of the car have been, and sometimes the VIN numbers are not noticeable. Even if it's on the dashboard, you know, you have the corrosion and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, so and even on the door strip, because that's where they're at.
Oh, there's plenty. I bet you there's plenty other places where the VIN marks are put on the cars. Got to check with the dealers. They'll tell you all of these secret places so they know when they're recovering a stolen car, something like that. Doggone it, I'm out of time. I'll chat with you a little bit later on. This is something that we've been very, very interested in is whatever happened to the abandoned vehicle fund. Maybe we'll shed some light on that later on as well. Mayor Melissa Savares, I do appreciate your time. I know how busy. I already had a good one. I did. I woke up this morning and said, this is going to be a good one. And it's 3 hours into it. And yeah, so far, so good. The radio station is KUSG. I got you 93.3. This is The Point.
Denying interference. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The White House claiming President Trump never discussed the sentencing of his confidant Roger Stone with Attorney General William Barr. Stone was convicted of witness tampering and lying to investigators as part of the Russia investigation.
The president said that this was a good decision that the Justice Department made independently.
I want to thank the Justice Department for seeing this horrible thing. And I didn't speak to him, by the way, just so you understand. They saw the horribleness of a 9-year sentence for doing nothing. You have murderers and drug addicts. They don't get 9 years.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has written to the Justice Department's Inspector General. He wants an investigation, and for that investigation and the findings to be made public.
Fox's Rich Edson at the White House. Senator Kamala Harris calling for Attorney General Barr to appear before the Senate Judiciary Committee, while Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal wants Barr to resign. A violent confrontation between members of a fugitive task force in Baltimore and a murder suspect who was a one-time member of law enforcement. Fox's Gernal Scott has this live.
Lisa, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan says the Baltimore officers, one each from the city and the county, are being treated for non-life-threatening wounds. But one officer was taken into emergency surgery after that incident. Police weren't specific about the reason for the warrant, saying it's part of their investigation. But the governor said it was on a former state corrections official
who had been under investigation, who left his job, and who then had a warrant outstanding for attempted murder in Pennsylvania last night.
That suspect was killed in the exchange of gunfire outside an apartment complex. Police continue to investigate, Lisa.
Thanks, Gernal. Wall Street at the close. Stocks ending the day broadly higher. The S&P and NASDAQ hitting record highs. The Dow gained 275. The NASDAQ climbed 87. America is listening to Fox News.
Yikes, are those Christmas bills coming in? Wait, hold on, that was last month. Now it's this month. But by popular demand, we're extending our New Year's solution 4.65% personal loan through February. Money for whatever you want at 4.65% APR from Bank Pacific. We're still celebrating.
Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal credit opportunity lender as low as 4.65%. Conditions apply.
Off a day, this is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
One day after his poor showing in New Hampshire, former Vice President Joe Biden says he's in it for the long haul.
Biden's campaign said in a press call today, Iowa and New Hampshire don't have the same demographics as the rest of the country. The diverse states have not yet spoken. And if the order was reversed with South Carolina and Nevada voting first, they say the result in this whole conversation would be different. Speaking to a crowd of 200 last night, Biden said nobody has won the nomination without overwhelming support from the black community, which he's relying on here. And today, his campaign released a digital ad pushing back at the notion the race is over for Biden.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich in Columbia, South Carolina. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren pulling her TV ads in South Carolina. That's according to a firm that tracks political advertising spending. The South Carolina primaries, February 29th. NASA scientists trying to understand the radio signals they've been picking up.
Researchers at NASA would love to know what or who is sending out radio waves in a cyclical pattern. The findings of the scientists are being published this week. They say they've been observing bursts of radio signals, milliseconds in duration, but occurring nearly hourly for a 4-day period, followed by silence for about 12 days, only for the cycle to resume. It's estimated the signals originate 500 million light years away and are most likely not intentional broadcasts by sentient beings, but naturally occurring, emanating from a star and merely interrupted by orbiting planets or other bodies.
Fox's Evan Brown. Prosecutors in Texas have dropped a drunken driving charge against the actor in the Trivago commercials. The case against Timothy William has been dismissed after he completed an alcohol education course and community service required by the court. He had been arrested last April after he was found passed out behind the wheel of a vehicle while stopped in a traffic lane. I'm Lisa Lacera, and this is Fox News.
The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts of Guam Training.
Hi, I'm Jerry Roberts, and every day on The Ray Gibson Show, I get to comment on the incredibly diverse, fun, challenging, sometimes frustrating, often exciting, but always interesting world of work. I hope you'll be there with us.
You can find daily transcripts of The Extra Point at guamtraining.com. Tune in every weekday morning at 7:20 for The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts. Brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and First Hawaiian Bank on 93.3 The Point.
Okay, I got it. 5 after 9 o'clock in the morning. This is the Ray Gibson Show, being brought to you by the team over at American President Lines, APL, a global presence with a local home, and of course, everybody over at. I'm going to do Wendy's now, so you don't have to worry about the gliss noise. Unless you want to do a plug-in when I do the bacon, you can do the plug-in for pig. I think we have pig sound effect in there. Anyway, so I was going to say Wendy's. Big Bacon Classic. It's back. This is where, if there's a line at the drive-thru, it's worth it. And have you noticed that these guys know how to churn a line at the drive? You know what they do? They've got the unique skill. It's like they know how you're going to pay them, and they already have the change all set up. You ever notice that? Yes. Like they think, okay, this guy's going to come in. He's going to come in. He's going to give me a $10 bill, so I need to have 15 cents ready for him. And so, bang, there it is, and then you're on the way to the next window. I digress. You can't go wrong with an original. The Big Bacon Classic starts with the beef patty, which is just incredible, seasoned perfectly. It's exactly the right size, exactly the right texture, and there's something about the way they make them square. Right? Is there a reason for that? Is that can we just cram more flavor into a square patty? I'm asking for a friend. They've got melted cheese on top of that, crispy bacon. There's lettuce. Crispy lettuce and tomatoes and onions, pickles, mayo, and ketchup. Then they put everything between the warm, fresh buns. This is OG. It's the big deal. The Big Bacon Classic waiting for you at Wendy's.
Real Talk Radio is back. Welcome to The Point, Guam's FM News Talk Superstation.
So we've had answered a variety of questions here this morning, and the most important one, is my good humor ice cream still in the freezer here at the radio station? The answer to that question is yes. Yeah, but Camacho online, Sungi Guam talking about the legislature and Adelup transfers the funds to the general fund. And that's, question. We're asking questions about the abandoned vehicle fund. I'm not sure exactly what happened to that. It used to be a thing, and people remember getting it on their registration, but it's not there anymore. You do have a recycling revolving fund, streetlight fund, etc. And there's supposed to be monies that are coming into all of this, and where does it go? And she explained a little bit of the process, and part of it is we get all of this money. The Department of Revenue, follow the moving parts, right? The Department of Revenue and Taxation will collect it. Then it all piles up and then is sent over to the EPA. And then the EPA will then dole it out, say the Mayor's Council, and then the Mayor's Council gets to sit around and they'll divvy it up themselves. And I'm going, how about it? Let's do it so that if there's an abandoned vehicle near my house, there is, and we want to get rid of it, all Rudy has to do is call somebody, and they will come and get the event. Maybe it's the police. Maybe it will be the police. Maybe it'll be the Guam government, Guam Abandoned Vehicle Department. Right, with an administrator making $170,000 a year. But anyway, so make it. I'll call the mayor, and the mayor can just call somebody up, and they will come and pick up the vehicle and send a bill to EPA, because that's where the money is. Right, they're the administrators of that fund. Why don't they just administer the payments from out of there? Now, granted, you're going to say, Ray, the EPA's got other things to do than administer this fund. Okay, well then just stop holding the money. Rev and Tax will then give it to another agency that will administer. Maybe the Department of Administration. maybe we can make it so they do that. So here's the deal. I called the guy. The towing company comes by, removes the eyesore that's in my neighborhood, and then he gets paid when they send the bill to Ed Byrne. Can we make it that much easier, as opposed to we got to wait until this part of the fiscal year? We got to wait until after the account is this fat. It has that feeling like it was a bureaucrat put it together, not somebody that lives and works in the real world. Somebody that says, "Well, I've got to put together a scheme here, which guarantees employment for as many nose pickers as possible." That's what we've got to do. It's the same genius, and I'm sure it's still done this way. If the swimming pool was working, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Honest to God, correct me if I'm incorrect here. That if you wanted to use the swimming pool, you've got to go to the Department of Parks and Recreation office and buy coupons.
Yes.
You have to do that.
Yes, you are correct.
In order to go and use the swimming pool.
$2 a day, and I believe you get 6 entries for $10.
When I was a little boy, when this place was run by people with common sense, you would go to the swimming pool, and you would pay the person at the swimming pool. You didn't have to go to 2 places to do one thing.
Yeah.
You went to the swimming pool, there was somebody in the front, and he took the money, and then you went swimming for a couple hours.
Yeah, the turnstile you had to go through.
The little turnstile,
yeah.
like they have in the States.
Yeah.
Like they have in America.
Yep, pay, you swim.
So what happened here? Whose idea was it? You're being offered some infusion snacks there. They're really good for you. Get the green tea one. Anyway, so at some point, I don't remember when it happened. I remember thinking this is about the dumbest thing in the world. But sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that says this is the dumbest thing in the world. Because it's crazy. Even people that I know that actually use the pool, that have to go to get their coupons, it's like they don't complain about it. And I'm going, why aren't you complaining about this? If enough people complain about it, they'll figure out what it takes to put somebody with decent responsibility, somebody that we can trust not to steal the money. That's got to be it. From the till over at the pool, because nobody's watching them. And we'll figure out a way to get that done. But it seems to me beyond me that we cannot put together a system like that. And the people that use the pool on a regular basis, or used past tense the pool on the regular basis, wouldn't complain about it. And I'm going, you people need to stand up for yourselves. You people need to go and find Richard Abanez or whichever guy is running the Department of Parks and Recreation and saying, this is dumb. This is dumb. If you don't only hire people that you trust to be able to handle cash. Is that what it is? Is it the only people in the government of Guam that are allowed to handle cash are people that work over at the for the treasurer's office? Is that it? Or do we need to make sure that somebody from the treasurer has got a job as opposed to everybody else? I mean, there's hundreds of businesses here on Guam where there's a guy, right, or girl at a cash register handling transactions. Who maybe are honest enough not to steal the money. And if they're dishonest, know that there are more cameras on them than there are on the customers. And it would be a dumb move to steal. Because you steal from the government of Guam, there's a chance that you might get fired. And we know what happens there. You get fired, and then you go to the Civil Service Commission, and they fight for you to get your job back, and they reinstate you, and you'll make double the pay. So maybe it would be a good idea if we wanted to increase the ranks of the government of Guam. You following this logic? Is actually is again actually putting people in charge of the cash at the places where the money is spent. I don't know. Just there's got to be an easier way to do all of this. 9:14 in the morning. 888-825-5888-TALK is the telephone number around here at the radio station. Sorry, I dropped something on the floor. I'm going to have to go get it. It was an invitation for bid or something like that. Vince Paredes on the line. So is Kat Uggan, who's there. Jess Limtiaco. Also, no one is going to make millions taking money from the pool entries. Yeah, I get that. Logic, guys. Logic. Nobody, people, if they took everything that they made over at the swimming pool on a daily basis, what did the people of Guam get robbed out of? Maybe $26, $27? And nothing on Mondays, because that's when they're supposed to be closed for maintenance, right? That's one of those things. Did they do a desk audit? When the new administration came in, you remember they had that huge task force. Was anybody on the task force a swimmer that had to go to the Agana swimming pool on a regular basis? So there is Guam Economic Development Authority has got this, and I'm mentioning it because it might be the only time that you ever see this. Sometimes they do that. Sometimes, they'll come out with a package, and they'll advertise it like once. And the right people see it. They know on what day to look for the one advertisement that we're going to put out. And then before you know it, a new building goes up. There's a new shopping mall over there, whatever. And they go, I thought we were supposed to bid that out. We did. How many ads did we put out? One. Where do we put it? In the back. Where nobody can see it except Ray Gibson. For lease and development of CLTC property, lot 7054 R8 up in Jigo, Guam. Jigo. They've got CLTC property up in Jigo that they want to lease out and develop. Anybody knows where it is? Pam? Pam, do you know where that is? Lot 7054-R8. The R would indicate residential, would it not?
Yeah, I suppose so.
I don't know. But and there used to be an app. We used to have an app online from the government of Guam. It was the one good app that they had.
It was a land app?
It was the land app. You remember
GPS and all that?
I don't recall that it had GPS, but the way it worked now was that you would type in the designation, where you type in 7054-R8, and it would go on a map to there. It would show you where that lot was, so that you could take a look at it and say, oh, that's where that's going. So I'm curious as to where this lot is, how big. Oh, there it is. Municipality of Jigo, approximately 8 acres, as shown on survey map LM. CLTC intends to negotiate a lease agreement for land use consistent with the agriculture zone designation. The RFP is available for public inspection and download from the Guido website at investguam.com. So there it is. All right, so it's not residential, agricultural zone, and they want to develop it with that. So the question is, okay, where's that land? What agricultural developments might be possible? Is it already leased out to somebody? Has it already been developed? Frank, I don't know. Sharky's on the line. He knows about Jigo.
Hey, my great grandfather used to have control of that property, and I have a document somewhere that says that it was supposed to have been used by the government of Guam, and then if not used, returned back to him. So I believe he at one time was heir to that property, but I remember him saying that the government could just keep it and use it because it was land that wasn't suitable for farming.
Huh. But wait a second. But that's contrary. That's contrary then to what they say it's going to be. CLTC intends to negotiate a lease agreement for lands consistent with the agricultural zone designation.
It's zoned agricultural, as most of Jigo was in the day.
Mm-hmm.
It was never changed or rezoned. And where it lies is behind the Jigo Gym, and at one time included the Jigo Gym and that power plant the GPA has. And that's why it was cut up, and that's why the R4 or whatever, R designation there. R means remnant, so it means like a portion of the original lot.
Okay.
And so they, Jigo Mayor had been using it for abandoned vehicle lot and all kinds of white goods lot and greenways lot. And at one time that was supposed to have been given the whole area to the people at Jigo to develop U baseball fields and a jogging area. And then they kind of moved it around, and then IBC went and leased it from Governor Felix Camacho to run a precasting area. They were doing stuff for the military base and some Gov Guam projects. And then what happened was it was reverted back, and I know that a portion of it was designated for the new Guam police station there. But in the recent administrations, they have kind of not wanted to do that. I don't know if it's budgetary constraints or what, or is not able to get GITA or GURA assistance on that to build a precinct. But that's where that lies, and it's a property that was dug out by numerous users, and the soil kind of got mixed up with junk and all kinds of stuff. So I don't think it's suitable for agricultural unless you're going to do hydroponics or
chicken farm.
Ground.
Let's do chicken farm.
It's a chicken farm, but it would be a nuisance. See, then you'd smell it at the gym and the new subdivision across the street. So they wouldn't allow for that. You know how picky they are. Unless it's the right person in that from the party that's running it. It's not gonna, you know how
you see now the conspiracy theorist in both of us pops up, and I'm wondering. You start to wonder if they've already figured out who it is that's going to who would be the appropriate person.
Yeah, like the drone thing. I said, man, I'm a drone pilot, but I'm only a recreational pilot. How would you develop an industry? And then I realized that the people that were assigned to licensing drone pilots on Guam was ACI, and they could possibly have a industry there, which, you know, good for them if they can do it. But it's so restrictive because of the military airspace and airport airspace, so you'd have to do most of your drone flying away from those areas. But I want to go back to the swimming pool. That was the dumbest idea. I remember as a kid, same like you, we took our dollars and we went over there and we went in and paid whatever we want to do. Now it's gotten to be where the theory is that if you don't have somebody at the pool handling the money, it won't be lost. So what you do is you create another position within the government of Guam and whatever, plus medical, dental, whatever, and then you got another vote because you got another bureaucracy, and then they buy gas to go down there, so or ride mass transit, so maybe they will create some kind of economic stimulus. Is that the theory?
I have no idea what the theory. The Rube Goldberg. I mean, it could work if we were trying to build one of those Rube Goldberg devices. But I just keep thinking about the convenience. I mean, if somebody. I remember I was injured, and they said, "Well, you can swim, you can do water aerobics, you can do water jogging." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, what's it going to take to get me to the swimming pool?" And they said, "Well, you just got to go up to Rev and Tax and get your coupons." And I said, "Why can't I just pay at the door?"
Why not have a machine there and you put 4 quarters or whatever you want to put in there, or $2 bills, or you know, and then the turnstile unlocks and you walk through. That would make more sense than, you know, running another 2 or 3 human beings, one down there to collect the money at the parks office, and the other one at the pool to accumulate the tickets or something. I don't know.
Like I said, and so I don't even use the pool, and it still sounds like an idiotic move. But the people that do use the swimming pool, I think it's like Stockholm syndrome. I think they're just, you know, we're used to getting screwed over by the government. So what the hell? It's just another line to stand in. Let's go.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and people got better things to do than stand in line. I don't know how these people stand in line for all these things, and then a lot of them will go to the schools and wait in another line for 2 hours to pick up their kids in the afternoon, and I'm like, well, do these people have jobs? Or
No.
I mean, that's why we have public busing system.
Well,
then again, I worry about the public busing system because now kids are getting chased between the bus stop and their houses, or between the school. I don't know what's going on with this island. We just can't seem to get a handle on the crime, and we can't punish anybody where it's a deterrent. I just don't understand. I mean, to me, crime is hard labor. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be 3 squares and a nice, cool place to lay your head down and learn better how not to get caught. I mean, it should be punishable.
There's enough of these guys, and you know what? Ankle bracelets. And here's your community service: is we're going to give you some machetes and some bush cutters, and we're going to do the Bertram and Pinko Island Beautification Project, and go by every promontory, every spot on Guam at the edges of the island where you can see the ocean, and we're going to cut down every piece of tangan, every blade of sakati out there, and we're going to make it so that.
We used to do that.
Once upon a time, sure. That used to be that. What? I don't know. I don't know why they don't do that. Well, no, I don't mean with inmates.
Mayor's personnel told me that these people at community service have the right to refuse what job you tell them to do. So some of them will go in there and they say, okay, you're going to go bush cut. And they say, no, I have a bad back or this and that. You can't force me to do that, And so they don't do it. So now what's going on? Why don't we go back to the judge and say, well, he doesn't want to do that, so give him some harder sentences.
Yeah, you can then put him in jail, put him in detention. You know what? And here's you know what? Let's do detention like they did to Yvonne Elliman, and that is tell you what, we're not going to make you stay here overnight because we don't want to feed you, we don't want to technically house you, but you do have to come to a detention center every day. You do have to. You're in trouble. You can go work in the community if you want to, or you have to go to a detention center every day, and we'll give you documents to scan. How's that? We'll give you all kinds of documents. We'll scan them into a computer.
I discussed that with Mike Canazza, who's I guess in charge of the halfway house and some of the work details, and that seemed like a great solution. We're going to take a place in Tidra, in a barracks or something, and we're going to fence it off, and you report there, and that's where you stay until you're assigned a vehicle and a detail to go with, and you go out and do it. You come back in, you get cleaned up, you get checked out, and you go home with your family. You do that every day, and that's your penalty. So we don't have to go through big housing numbers or whatever, but we take a building and we make it a processing center. And for especially first-time offenders, I see first-time offenders really get the book thrown at them. And these are productive people in our society. They could go out and run a bush cutter, and they're not scared to do it. They want to get out there. And I see the people from the halfway house that go out with the work detail, and they're glad to get out. And people like myself will go and buy them a bucket of chicken or sandwiches or something and tell them, good. Now, when you get to where you paid your debt to the community, then you go back and become a productive member, and you learn not to do that again. And that's the way it should be. That's what penalties and punishments should be. Not this game we play now where, I pled guilty to the crime. Oh, wait. Before you sentence me, I want to change my plea back to innocent, and I'm going to see if I can fight this and see how far I can take it before I, get a good deal. And that's not the way it should be. And that's why judges are told to be judges. They need to be able to base their sentences and their stuff on probation reports and all the reports that the marshals and the police department gives them. So I think we need to go back to basics and read the book of Judge Abati and learn from that.
Judge Abati, man, MC Cruz, Manette. Guys like that. You and I turned out okay because we were scared of running. I was afraid of getting pulled over by MC Cruz, and I was afraid of showing up in Judge Abati's courtroom for anything worse than a traffic ticket.
I ran around with his kids, and I was a couple years older, so I would give them transportation sometimes when they wanted to go to a birthday party or go to the beach or whatever. And let me tell you, every day that I saw that man, I knew what it was to be, to have to respect him, because he actually made a difference on Guam, and he never really was recognized. But that's the kind of guy that needs that Samurai Award or some of those resolutions.
There were numerous accolades when he passed. Shark, I'm going to let you run.
Name a precinct after him.
And name a precinct and name the prison after him. For heaven's sakes,
There you go.
I think that would be appropriate. I'll talk to you soon, Brett.
Okay, thanks, Ray.
Appreciate the story. As I said, it will be interesting. Watch for a second version of this. I'm not saying that there has been meeting the minimum requirements on advertising for opportunities like this, but every once in a while it'll pop up, it'll rear its ugly head. There'll be an invitation for a bid or an RFP or something like that comes out, and they'll run them in the Sunday newspaper or something like that, where readership is limited to the people at the actual newspaper, and then all of a sudden somebody will come out, only one vendor bothered to pick up a packet, so they're going to naturally get it. So I want to make sure that everybody knows now that Gita has put out a note looking for a request for proposal for lease and development of CLTC property 7054 R8 Remnant, according to Ed, and that is a piece of property behind the Jigo Gym in that area. And it has apparently, over the years, been used for lots of different things. So if it is going to be used for, quote, agriculture purposes, it might not necessarily be planting corn like Mr. Wustig does, or chicken farms and egg plants and things like that, because there are going to be people in the area that would complain. Oh, memories, if you will, driving. It was always interesting driving in the South, and I'm trying to remember if there was ever a time where both of the chicken farms were operational at the same time. But there used to be a spot down past Pagazzo on the agate side, just as you passed the beach, beautiful beach they've got down there, and there was, as soon as you were at the beach, the roll up the windows. Because we're about to pass by the chicken place where they had chickens and eggs, and it stunk to high heaven in that area.
That was before, but I don't smell it anymore.
Well, because they're not making chickens and eggs there.
Okay, I remember. Yeah, very clearly. Yeah.
That's the Southern Hudodo Street. You go by there.
I remember that.
Yeah. And then on the other side of Talafofo, coming out of am I thinking of Pfeffel? Yeah, by the gas station, not too far away from there. I want to say that it's banana trees or something like that now, but I want to say that there was a chicken plantation there that was also roll up the windows, put the air con on, recirculate, because we don't want any of that outside air coming in, because it's foul. That was some crazy times, though.
My dad used to lock the windows so we couldn't, when we had electric windows. He locked the window so we couldn't roll it up.
Oh, right.
So we'd have to smell it.
Well, my first father-in-law, Tom Pablo, wonderful human being, and he used to do this. So we'd be driving in Washington, in summer times. I'd go up there. We'd go up and visit, and we'd get into Tom's car, and roll the windows up, and then lock the windows, and then pretty soon, hey, where's that coming from? Get that tiger out of the room. Everybody, my hair changed color as a result of that. You ever rip one out so bad that it peels the paints off the wall? Tom could do that. Because, and I said with as much love as I possibly can, he and I had many things in common, and among them was the fact that we were both Tauruses. In addition to being Tauruses, we were both tigers, and we could not understand why the women folk in the family did not appreciate us more for those simple fact that we were Tauruses and tigers at the same time. Lightning just doesn't strike that way for everybody. Bottom of the hour, and speaking of lightning striking, we got great lightning strikes on all kinds of accessories and parts, and even a new phone that you've never heard of that you can find over at iConnect. They're in the iConnect. They've got locations all over the place. In fact, there's one next door. But the one at the Micronesia Mall just loaded up with all kinds of Apple accessories, chargers, AirPods Pros. They've got a ton of third-party accessories, and third-party doesn't care what your phone you're attaching it to. Phone cases, power banks, earphones, all kinds of stuff. It starts with a quick trip to the Micronesia Mall. While you're there, make sure you stop by iConnect.
Docomo Pacific wants to keep your business connected. When you sign up for a smart business bundle, you're gaining more than just mobile, internet, and phone services. Receive unbeatable value for your money and the convenience of having it all on one bill. All your business services on the widest and fastest network in Guam and the Marianas. Call 688-2677 for more information on partnering your business. Docomo Pacific Business, delivering your future today.
The University of Guam Endowment Foundation presents How to Say I Love You, Love Languages in the Pacific. Join us on February 13th at the Guam Museum from 6 to 9 p.m. and enjoy a night of live entertainment and cultural delicacies, all while exploring the many ways we celebrate love in the region. Tickets are $60 per person and include free-flowing drinks. Proceeds will benefit the liberal arts and fine arts programs. Visit give.uog.edu and click shop to get your tickets today. Sponsored by the Guam Daily Post, Matson Navigation, and Choice Broadcasting.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
Sup? And the answer is, I don't know. I never been there. I wish that was original. I stole it from Douglas Adams. Douglas Adams is one of my favorite writers of all time. You might be familiar with work that he did, a series of books called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. You've never read it?
I've never heard of it.
It's easy to read. He wrote it like 5th grade level, which is why I've read it. Which is why I've read the books a dozen times.
Does it have pictures?
The ones in your head are better.
Okay.
The ones in your head are better. And Hitchhiker's Guide. And unfortunately, Douglas Adams died a few years ago. I forget what it was, but just a brilliant British comedy writer. He got started in the ad business and turned that into what for many of us was a great escape from the world. And I remember distinctly it was 83, 84. And I don't recall exactly why, but I was having a hard time with something. And I discovered one of his books at the bookstore of all places. You know, I said, this looks interesting, right? And so I started on the first book, and before I knew it, I went back to the store to buy the second book. And by the time I knew it, I went back to the store, and instead of buying the third book, I bought the trilogy. It actually came in one big bound book.
Box set.
Yeah, box. And so I bought that and just loved it as a page turner. You know, I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I'd get on the bus. And I had a student bus pass, and I just sit there, I've got my headphones on, listening to the radio, and reading Douglas Adams and The Hitchhiker's Guide, and just, you know, it was a great way to kill, a bunch of hours that I probably should have been working or studying for, but you know, like I said, wasn't at that place in my life, and it was an entertaining book. So as a recommendation, if pick up a copy. Grab, go and look for it. Just download, see if you can download a chapter or two and see if it doesn't suck you in. And again, the mental pictures that you will have and the turns of phrase that I picked up in 1983 that I use to this day. Among them is, here I am, brains the size of a planet. That's where that line comes from. And there's so many more that you can find.
So is it really a guide to hitchhiking?
Yes, always bring your towel. Okay. It's important tips. Always have a towel with you, because you never know when you might need something like that. There was even a computer. There was even a computer game that he had written long time ago, and you might still be able to get it. And it was a word game. It was back in the old days where they didn't have graphics on video games, and they were word games like "You just woke up." And, you know, then there's a series of commands. And so what do you do when you first look? You wake up, you start looking around. So L is the command, and then it gives you an inventory. So you look around, and over on the right, there's a hammer. Well, pick up the hammer. grab the hammer. And so it was all of this stuff. And that's the way we played games back in the old days. And you had to create maps in your head or physically on paper of these universes that were getting built with these games. Old school gamers will know exactly what I'm talking about. You know who I ran into last night? Paul Carlson. Name familiar?
No.
Paul Carlson is one of a handful of guys that I will put down as the geniuses that were there that gave us the internet. He was he's one of the guys that did Cuentos, and Cuentos got so big. And Shelley's listening. Shelley can tell you the rest of the story. But they got so big and so good at what they did. They got eaten up by the MCV, and then MCV got eaten up by Docomo. But when it comes to what was going on with the internet and how people got around, and this is back in the old days before Windows Explorer. This is back in the old days when Netscape, was it Netscape? Was that the name of the software?
Netscape.
God, it was good stuff. That was
Alta Vista.
That was my preferred browser on if I was using the www, because that was just a protocol. That was just one way to move information around with each other. There was FTPs, there's Archies, there's all kinds of other things that finally that got themselves engrossed in HTTP and www. But that was back in the old days. You go and you'd sign up with the guys, and they'd give you some floppy disks, or you bring your computer to them and they would install the software for you so you could use the internet. Oh my God, the dark ages. And Paul and I get together, and every once in a while we'll reminisce about the great old days of that kind of very, very cool technology. What's that? What are we saying? Commodore 64. Yeah, we're not doing that again. I did that last week. We did the whole warm bath of nostalgia, talking about computers from back in the old days. But yeah, the Commodore 64 was a great one. Chris Bicino says he had that game. You had the old. I had it on Apple II. Wasn't it C? It wasn't a C. I had a C+. That was the first computer that we ever got was a C+. And we spent up for the dual diskette drives, right? We did A and B over here. And I wanted to learn how to use CP/M, so I bought a CP/M daughter card that went in there, and that required a different set of different set of software that you would boot up before you'd boot up the full computer, because you needed to boot up into CP/M.
You knew early on that this was going to go someplace.
It had no choice but to go someplace. I mean, the ideas, it was just in the beginning. Word processing was one of the first things that you do, and spreadsheets. 1, 2, 3 from back in the old days. Databases were, I was fascinated with databases. Work at a radio station, and we've got all these records, we got all these tapes, we got all these carts, and somebody has to put all of that stuff together. So you just build databases. Used to work with IBC, International Business College, and every once in a while, they'd have classes on what was at the time superior software called DBase, and DBase was one of those things they had additional classes for. So you could, if you had some really sophisticated work that you needed to do, no problem. You can learn it yourself. Or you call Dennis Weibel. Dennis will send down the #1 person in his class, and then you could hire them on a project basis. And I did that pretty much all the time, because it was software that I was using. Proprietary software didn't give me the reports that I wanted, but everything was in DBase format, DBF. So I hired a guy, and they unplugged the DBF, unpack it, and then give me reports, files that I could generate. That was the olden days, man. It was must have been back in the 1980s. So you were talking about pictures, and my reference, and the pictures are better in your head, and so. Today is National Radio Day. I didn't realize that until Donna was walking around with cupcakes from Infusion, and I guess that's the thing. Happy Radio Day to wherever you are, and whether you are in radio or not. I don't know that makes any difference. And a lot of people that have expressed concerns in the many decades that I've been a part of radio that this is going to kill radio. Television was supposed to kill radio. It didn't kill radio. They came out with compact discs and cable TV, and all of these things were supposed to kill. It still ain't killed radio. And now we've got the internet. Now, I remember as a boy broadcaster, one of my favorite things about doing radio on Guam was my only competition was the guy across the street. It was another radio station over that way. But now I've got competition from everywhere. everywhere on the planet, there are radio stations. There are guys that are doing radio, talk radio of one kind or another, content-driven radio, public affairs radio. I can't remember, I think it's called The Garden. And I probably shouldn't tell you because you'll spend all day there like I've done. And the Garden is a web app that you log on to. I think it's just garden.com might be. And it takes a second to populate, but it will put up a globe. And then, like on a GPS program, you can spin the globe and find places and see what kind of radio they've got there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. The chef over at the Hyatt, Chef Mirko, he's Italian.
Oh.
And he was telling me, he says, I missed listening to the radio in Italy, and I turned him onto the program, and now he's hooked.
Wow.
And so in his hometown, he can zoom in and go to the hometown. Or if he wants to hear what's happening in the town over, he can do that. Doesn't have to know anything. It just, just navigate on the map, and it'll tell you what the different stations are. And yeah, the stations on Guam are in this garden thing. And I think that's the coolest thing in the world. But one of my favorite things is about radio is the warmth of the medium. And there are cold mediums and hot mediums. The coldest medium in my mind is television, film, things like that, because they rely on audio, video, sound effects, all of these things in order to tell you a story. You get into radio, and we're visual here, but there's a lot of people that aren't watching on Facebook and aren't watching on YouTubes and aren't watching on thepoint.gu, have no idea that there is a graphical version of this program. And all you have is the sound of my voice and my desire to sell you a sandwich from over at Wendy's, or get you thinking about having a nice meal with your sweetheart over at Mescla, or maybe spending Valentine's weekend at the Grand Plaza Hotel. And so it's one thing to just say, hey, have a nice weekend with your girl over at the Grand Plaza Hotel. But I think it's more fun to turn it into a story and let you imagine what the fun is going to be when you put the key in the key card machine, and it makes that little whir click noise, and it unlocks the door, and there it is, a room that you've never stayed in before. And you start to look around and take things in, the smell of the room. Has the air conditioning been on? Open the door of the bathroom, make sure that everything is in there, it is in order in there. And I always check out the safe. I always look in the safe. Whenever I go into a new hotel room, I always check out the safe to see if anybody's forgotten anything in there. Also look under the bed to see if anybody's dropped anything under there that might turn into some kind of cool treasure for me. Hands and knees on the carpet. Anyway, so I like the opportunity to tell those kinds of stories in what I consider to be the warmest medium of them all, and that is it's radio. Printed word is interesting, and it's a very warm medium because, as I said, Douglas Adams writes this book and he gives these descriptions of vistas that he sees. Tom Clancy, I consider him one of the great writers of all time. The problem is he's way too many words. I mean, the guy, it takes a chapter to describe a scene, and so that gets cumbersome after a while. Stephen King, great writer, warm medium. You can feel what he is writing, and I think that takes a certain skill and a certain talent. So let's hear it for the warm mediums today. Happy Radio Day. I'm here, and I'm glad you're there. Now, the radio experience. Last thing on this is it requires. In my case, it requires the faith, a belief that you're listening, that you are out there. And that's the first part of the warmth of this media, is I'm here in a studio. I don't get to see you. And there's not really, outside of, the request line and the phone line, the chat line and Facebook Live or whatever, there's not really a feedback loop in a lot of cases. So it's important that I've got the faith that you're there listening to me and my stories in the medium. And that's part of the magic, isn't it? Isn't that part of what makes this magical? And the other part is every once in a while, and I hope it's very often, where you get, as you're listening to me, a Me Too moment where you're going, oh, yeah, that's how I feel about that. Or, yeah, I have the same experience. Or, yeah, that guy was a jerk. Or whatever. And I have to believe that those Me Too moments are happening on a consistent enough basis that you tune in every day to get those moments again. So on behalf of everybody in the radio business, whether they work here or work someplace else, thanks very much for believing, and thanks very much for the magic. 9:47, that's a good place to put a commercial.
If you've ever struggled for breath, you know what a scary experience it is. Whether you have asthma, emphysema, COPD, lung cancer, or another respiratory illness, the right medical treatment makes all the difference. GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic has the latest technology and respiratory equipment, staffed by world-class pulmonologists. Make an appointment today with GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic and start breathing easier. GRMC, where patients are partners.
What are we doing tonight? What's the big deal? You got a plan? Is there something floating around in your head about where we are going the night before Valentine's? I would suggest that you make a plan. Let me give you a couple. We got food truck night down in Skinner Plaza. There's that going on. There is a language of love deal over at the museum. Now that'll set you back a couple of bucks. But there's food, there's going to be drink, there's going to be entertainment, there's going to be some kind of education that nobody will ever be able to take from you at the museum. And once you've gotten your dose of the language of love at the museum, take it out for a spin. Skinner Plaza is over there. On the other side of the museum is the Plaza de España. And it is still, notwithstanding any stories of sucking face with Christy Knapp when I was... She was an older girl, too. I was a sophomore. She was a junior.
I see.
Right. Oh, stud of me. But anyway, so notwithstanding any of those stories, those initial clumsy first kisses, I've always liked the Plaza de España. It's always a playground, historical repository, and one of the things that I like most about the Plaza de España, tonight it'll sound great because Daryl Taggarty's going to be there spinning tunes at the kiosco. But the other thing is I appreciate any more these days Plaza de España because other people appreciate it. I pick up my daughter from school every day, and generally we'll park in the shade where you've got the Governor's Palace, the edge of the Governor's Palace, and from there I can see, I'll describe it this way, right next to where the swings used to be at Cathedral, right? So I'll park there, and from there, kind of at an angle, I can see all of the Plaza de España. And it's for me, one of my favorite things is we've got this other generation of very independent travelers. So there's a lot of back and forth up and down that road of Koreans pulling in, parking their car, and going and taking a picture of themselves, a selfie of them and their families against virtually every square inch of the park. Yeah. They've got the gates that they take pictures against. They've got the canyons that they take their pictures against. They've got the kiosco with the stairs, and everybody lines up on the stairs. And I've got to imagine that their pictures look exactly like the pictures that we used to take when I was a kid at cathedral grade school, or when we go out, and get in our Easter clothes and go and pose in front of the kiosco. And they got these guys doing that, and they've got all the monuments down there and the big GUAM signs.
Yeah.
So they've got that. And I just get kind of tickled while I'm waiting for the girl to get out of school, watching these people, couples and families, multi-generations of families, enjoying, the central part of downtown. And even as we're talking about, do I have another article here in the stack of articles? Do I have another article here that talks about how everybody's wringing their hands about the drop in arrivals and reservations here on Guam as a result of the coronavirus? Let me give it to you like this: they're still coming. There's still people getting off the airplane every day, and they're hanging out in Tumon, and they're getting into their rent-a-cars, butchering most of the drive, And I don't know whether they get any kind of advice when they rent the cars, but there's still people coming to the island and enjoying this place. So maybe with the numbers as small as they are, it's easier for you to say thanks very much for coming to Guam. I really appreciate the fact that you like coming here, and I hope you come back, and I hope you tell your friends what a great time that you had here at my Plaza de España, or at my Tree Bar, or at my Hilton lobby, or something like that. And further to a point that I wanted to make, like I said, I went to Tree Bar last night. Wanted to see what was. I've been meeting up with a couple of people, and I'm at the Tree Bar, and it occurred to me that there wasn't an Asian soul in the place. They were over. Wow. They were swimming, They were over the, there were some.
In the pool.
Yeah, they were over at the pool, but there was a huge table over there. It was absolutely packed with military service members.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there were 4 or 5 people, and, it's kind of a stop sign-shaped place. 4 or 5 people all lined up over at the edge of the bar on the other side. And they weren't Koreans. They weren't Japanese tourists. They were us. They were us. And I think sometimes we don't have enough of these events, global events like the SARS, like the bird flu, and like this coronavirus thing that we've got. And there's always a new batch of people down in Tumon that start wringing their hands, and they start looking at employees' hours and saying, "Oh my God, all you hourly people, we're cutting you back. Salary people, you're working 7 days a week," and just trying to, as much as possible, maximize the efficiency of their staff, because there aren't enough Japanese, there aren't enough Koreans coming in. And to the new people in the hospitality industry, as somebody that has been down this road a couple of times for a variety of reasons, please remember to market to the locals. Remember to target the military. When we know when times get tough, we have people that work in those industries, and we want them working full time. So when you run into these hard times, these little valleys in arrivals and registrations, do me a favor. Remember that I live here. Remember that Real Joe lives here. And remember that there's the military of all kinds that maybe don't always get a chance to go by your facility. Invite us. And you'd be surprised at the kind of numbers that you're going to see. I think people need to, and people on the outside, I think you need to remember that that there are these businesses that are out there. And maybe you only eat and shop and dine in kind of a select area. Oh, I don't go down to Tumon anymore. I hate getting stuck in traffic. Well, get stuck in traffic. It's all right. It'll only take you a couple of minutes to get. The problem is it's at the Hilton, right? There's this great opportunity, and all they need to do is take that stupid median island where they've got to cut out.
Yeah.
And make it straight, so that more cars can get off the primary street and into the turn lane, as opposed to waiting until they get all the way up to the front to get into the turn lane that takes you to the Hilton. Anyway, so do that. But my point is there's a lot of people that have not thought about your businesses, your hotels, your restaurants in Tumon, because they figure you're going to be jam-packed with Koreans and Japanese and Chinese, etc. Let us know that you want us to come by as well. You need advertising. I'll help you with the advertising. I got a whole room of people. That's what they do, and we'll put together some clever spots and remind people about your place down in the Tumon place. 9:55 in the morning. 888-8255. 888-TALK. What do we got going on here? It looks like Jess Limtiaco and Pam Duval are into some kind of a conversation. We're hosting China in a game. Yeah, I haven't really gotten around to talking about that. And for the most part is because I haven't really decided how I feel about it. Back of today's Guam Daily Post. All right, down around the bottom, Harvest 2K, 5K. This is going to be taking place tomorrow at the Paseos. 5:15 a.m. is show. Go time is going to be at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's Saturday morning. And if you want to run the fast short race, that's the one. If you want to run the half marathon, see up at Anderson Air Force Base. Guam Daily Post, Matt Wise writes, after denying cruise ship entry to Guam, Guam will host a Hong Kong basketball team. And there are people going, wait. That looks like a double standard, doesn't it? That looks like we're okay with the basketball, but we're not okay with the cruise liner. And I don't think we're apples in this case. Cruise liner, how many people were on that? 3,000 people? And we knew that there was that they had cases, right? We knew that there were cases there, and so I think it was prudent not to allow them to park here on Guam. Even if they just said, look, we'll just park and maybe you can help us with some medical attention, things like that. You know what? It's still big risk, and I am lining up with the administration and the public health people to say, no, not this time. There's, we'll airdrop more food and soda pop and cold beer for the people that are on the boat, but we got to figure out a way that we can safely quarantine everybody in this case. We're talking about how many people are coming in for this basketball tournament from where the Hong Kong. How many people are going to be coming in? A couple of dozen?
Probably 20 or so, 25.
Way easier to keep track of. Way easier to surveil. I mean, as they get off the airplane, come with us, and I'm going to put a thing in your mouth, and we're going to take your temperature and tell me exactly where you have been. Hong Kong, by itself, is not bad. It's the people that have gone from Hong Kong into mainland China, et cetera, that might have been exposed to the virus that are coming through. But like I said, smaller crowd, a little bit easier to surveil. We know where they're going to. We know where they're from. We know where they've been, and we know where they're going. And you can imagine that the organizers of this event also want to make sure. So yeah, I see it, and I can see where people might be going, oh, it's another example of the double standards and the two faces of the government of Guam. But in my mind, it's not apples and apples as we make that comparison. 9:58 and change, and you got the telephone number. Well, probably use it this afternoon when Real Joe is hosting for Bob Klitsky and the Tall Tales. That's going to be fun to talk about, because he's got stuff that might come up. As I glance briefly at the table of contents to see what exactly it was that I also forgot to talk about today. Guam has 2 preservation officers. Oops.
2 for the price of 2.
Oops. Yeah, 2 for the price of 2. And they go, okay, well, Patrick has got the appointed position, so he's going to get to continue to be the SHPO. But as far as the other historical preservation officers, he's got that role, and then Linda is going to get that role. Maybe Linda's going to get that role. The Civil Service Commission has ruled that she ought to be reinstated. At this point, the Attorney General's office comes through and says, well, about that. And they might be inclined to otherwise appeal that decision with the people over at the Civil Service Commission. Is it possible to undo something like that? He thinks that they misstepped on a couple of the procedures. He's not alone. Former Senator and host of Tall Tales, Bob Klitsky, will be happy to tell you in a lot of time how wrong the Civil Service Commission was in reaching that conclusion. Hey, I got to go. Just as Millie Lohana Faison chimes in, just as I see Belen Siddell rejoining the broadcast. Yeah, I got to go because we got this whole rest of the day thing I got to get through. But as I said, Tall Tales, 4 o'clock this afternoon. Real Joe and Mana and Jerry Roberts and I are going to be back with you tomorrow morning. What do you want, 6 again? 6
a.m. Yes, sir, 6 a.m.
Perfect.
Sharp.
I wasn't doing anything anyway. Might as well just show up early. Enjoy your National Radio Day with some of the greatest national radio shows in talk radio coming your way here on 93.3 KUSG. I got you. This is The Point.
I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Democrats pushing for a new investigation after actions President Trump took after his impeachment trial.
A personal vengeance operation. That's how Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown describes President Trump's actions after he was acquitted in his impeachment trial. Brown, ranking Democrat of the Banking Committee, warned lawmakers.
If we say nothing, and I include everybody in this committee, I include myself, if we say nothing, it will get worse.
Brown pointed to the president withdrawing the nomination of former U.S. Attorney Jesse Liu to a Treasury Department post. Liu oversaw the case of longtime associate Roger Stone, whose sentence for lying in the Russia probe is up in the air.